Greetings and salutations, everyone. Excuse the slight delay. I had a feline emergency, which is currently now lying in the foyer, drying off.
Did you get a wet-ass pussy, Arch?
Yes, indeed. It's been raining here for like the last 5 days, and the neighbor's cat decided that this was too much. This was too much for it. I had a feline emergency. And it elected to take up residence in my house.
So basically, God is flooding Norway, is what you're saying.
Yes, indeed. Yes. As I am now
Arch now
wondering,
has a cat girl.
Where is V coming from? That's where V is coming from. Silence V. Not you, V. Echo V. Past V. There we go.
You forgot to mute the video.
The stream, specifically, yes. It's normal. My audience is quite familiar with this particular mess up.
How's Armored Core, Arch? I saw you playing it. Is it like Elden Ring?
No, not really.
Is it like slow and strategic? Like,
God,
do you...
Yeah, it's the opposite of MechWarrior, eh?
Yes.
So I haven't played an Armored Core, I think, since the first or second game way back in the day. Is it still familiar? Is it still similar to those, or?
I have no idea. I never played one before. That was my first one, Armored Core 6.
Oh, really? Okay, Jesus.
I would describe it as 90% fun, and then you meet you have to have the correct loadout to proceed boss, and then you've got to grind for an hour to buy the necessary gear.
Well, it is a FromSoft game, you know, so.
I suppose.
I know, because like, okay, so is it like FromSoft? Like, do you get XP, and if you die, you lose the XP? And
no, there's no
like,
XP system whatsoever. There's only gear. Gear and money.
And it's not. Is it like very challenging but fair?
No.
It's just very challenging.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen it, V, but like on social media, there's a bunch of Zoomers who are complaining that the first boss is too hard and the game's not casual enough. And all the long-time Armored Core fans who have been playing it since 1997, they're all saying, "Yeah, that's how it should be." This like you're not supposed to be able to play this game and have fun, I guess.
I have.
Which is, I mean, there's fun in challenge, right? But there's definitely people out there, especially like game journalists, who are just complaining like, "Oh, it's too hard. We can't play it." It's the same thing as the Elden Ring controversy. People complaining that it's too hard.
Sort of, but I will say, okay, so there's the meme with the first boss helicopter, get filtered, which is basically weeding out the game's journos. And I can see that. If you can't get back past the heli boss, there is something wrong with you. Because that boss is basically just hit it with sword and it falls down. Nice and simple.
Speaking of journals, I posted a picture with them. Like, those are the ones reacting to the bear sex scene. I don't feel represented, Arch. Like, I understand representation is very important. And I'm looking at that crowd of people, and I don't think I want to be friends with either of them.
But I will say, from like the Armored Core games, I get no satisfaction from the bosses whatsoever. Like in Dark Souls or in Sekiro, when you beat a hard boss, you felt like you figured something out. Like you did good. Like you figured out its attack patterns, you managed to dance and weave through it, block at the correct times, etc. You feel as if you skilled up. Beating a boss in Armored Core, I never get that feeling. I feel like, oh, I figured out which weapon to bring. And it's only the big bosses. The mini-bosses are fine. The mini-bosses are actually quite interesting, because you usually need to engage with some sort of mechanic, or dodge it, or hit it from a certain angle, and that's fine. But the gear check bosses, not enjoyable.
Yeah, it's just like the rock, paper, scissors game, right? I know Blizzard games have that problem. Pokemon has that problem, where it's just, do you know what counters the enemy? And that's the only thing you need to know.
Like, I was stuck on one boss for like 3 hours, and then I literally just built a gun tank with nothing but heavy weapons, and I cleared him on the first try. It's like, okay, that was not a skill boss. That was a bring this gun boss. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. I do prefer my Dark Souls, but we have somebody else playing, of course, on the hardest difficulty right now, and that is former President Donald Trump.
That's quite the segue.
But it's an accurate one. So this is the 4th time he has been arrested at the moment. He is facing a combined total of, I think, 760 years in jail. And this is one of 4 currently ongoing, like, federal investigations against him, with a grand total of 13 charges. So,
You know what he should do, Arch?
what?
Fire his lawyer and hire Chris Chan's lawyer.
I think he's already fired plenty of lawyers. That's part of the problems.
Yeah, but like hire Chris Chan's lawyer.
The thing is, I swear to God, once you get an attorney, you should literally be, they should literally be unable to quit. You'd have to fire them because too many of these lawyers, especially in the Trump case, quit when the PR gets bad. Like, they pick it up thinking they can get a sweet payday, and then when it gets a little bit too hot, they bounce. And you see this with Hunter as well, who's gone through attorneys like mad. Like, this just seems to be a thing. And it's done.
Yeah, I noticed that with Trump, I think it was back in 2020, they were threatening the law firms. Like, they were threatening their clients and shit.
Yes.
I've never seen something so disgusting. And like, even I didn't think that the left would go this low. To the point where they do not want you to even have an attorney.
Of course.
Right. So, like, if they would hire like a law firm that was willing to work with Trump, they would threaten their clients. Like, they would use cancel culture and persecution against their clients for going to the law firm that was with Trump.
Yep.
Here, Arch, I'm gonna drop this link in the link channel. A list of all the Trump lawyers who have quit.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a pretty extensive list.
Let's see here.
It just goes and goes and goes.
Yep, starts at 2021, 2020.
Yeah, and the left is basically talking about this as if yeah, they're talking about it as if the left had nothing to do with it. You know, like it's not that they threaten the clients of the lawyer firms, or, you know, like they put pressure on the lawyers. No. It's just,
of course not.
Yeah, they just don't like Trump.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, they would represent pedophiles and they would represent other criminals, but like just
and
not
murderers,
Trump.
But not Trump. Not Trump fault.
Not Trump.
That's one step too far.
Yeah. Some of them have absolutely been like threatened either, you know, more directly by the government or more indirectly by just, you know, cancel culture, as you say. A few of them, though, Trump has fired. So actually, for example, like Trump, you know, got rid of Rudy Giuliani. He threw Giuliani under the bus. And Giuliani was like his most high-profile lawyer. And Trump is just like, fuck you. So I don't blame Giuliani for being pissed, right? There were 2 other ones, and I think it was in the documents case, that they were just like, yeah, we're just going to quit because we think Trump is so wrong here. We're just out. Like, they quit of their own volition, right? So it does depend which case we're talking about, but there has definitely been some pressure on some of them for sure.
But what did Giuliani do that got him fired?
Many things. That is too deep of a well to get into here, but
yeah, the TLDR of it was basically that because Trump's various suits in 2020 were unsuccessful, they didn't like find the evidence that they wanted to find of there being some sort of election malpractice. Trump just threw Giuliani under the bus and blamed him. It's like, the reason that, you know, my cases didn't work out is because of Giuliani. And it's like, well, Jesus, this guy's been like your public face for so long. He's been talking you up, and you're gonna throw him under the bus? Like, I don't blame Giuliani for being pissed about that.
Maybe something happened behind closed doors.
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. But this, of course, resulted in the now rather infamous mugshot, where Trump does a very good job of looking not at all like a convict, shall we say. And for
MSNBC,
they
MSL.
Go on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, MSLSD was crying that Trump rehearsed the mugshot.
Yes.
And I was thinking, like, and
Well,
not to mention that there were articles saying that he should be humbled, and I was thinking, was AOC humbled when she was arrested by the cops? Like she was smiling at the camera, putting her hands behind her back, pretending like she has handcuffs.
So-
It was like an environmentalist rally or something, and the cops just moved her away. Like they didn't arrest her, right? Like, they just got her and moved her a little bit away from the crowd, and she got like a lot of pictures with that and pretended that she was arrested.
Yep.
And she was wearing it like a badge of honor.
In fact, I got the picture of it, where she, as you say, she puts her hands behind her back as if pretending she is handcuffed, while smiling broadly at the camera, like, yes, PR. And that is exactly how Trump is playing this. And
Yes.
the issue too is, the Democrats, the left more correctly here, they were so desperate for their pound of flesh, like the bad man had to pay, the bad man must pay, that they didn't stop to think of the consequences until they'd done it. And now Trump looks like a Giga Chad who is being persecuted by the authorities. And the worst part of it all from the woke is then they write articles like this one probably the one you referred to, The Atlantic. He wants you to look at him. Trump's mugshot was supposed to be an exercise in humility. He turned it into a threat. Precisely.
Greta Thunberg as well. Like when she got arrested, she was smiling. Like it's fine when the left gets arrested and they don't show humility. It's just like if you're a right winger and you're arrested, you should show humility.
Well, that was the thing, because indeed, they intended for this to be hurting the bad orange man. That was the intent of this.
Yes.
It was to humble and humiliate the bad orange man. Instead, he turned it into a weapon. And anyone with 2 eyes to see would know that that would be exactly what he would do. He is embracing this. Before he was barely out the door of the police station, he had 24 merchandise options set up with his mugshot on them.
So here's the thing, right? Anybody who has followed Trump for any length of time has seen that face before because he used it all the time in The Apprentice.
Yes.
Did you guys watch The Apprentice?
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah. So he uses that face all the time when he's trying to appear intimidating. That's his Trump intimidation face. So of course he would break it out here, right? And to me, it just feels like 2016 all over again, where you have Democrats who think that they can shame their way into, they just shame people into not liking Trump.
Yes.
It didn't work in 2016. It's not going to work this time either. Like you are in fact making him seem like this anti-establishment, common folk hero.
Yes.
Because that, like if you look at a lot of leftist rhetoric about the police, they hate the cops, they hate the government, they're anarchists who want to overthrow things, and so when they get arrested, they're doing it for a right cause because the system is corrupt, it's fascist. You know what I mean? Like the liberal capitalist democracy system is fascist. We have to overthrow it, so they're getting arrested for a good cause.
Yes.
But when Trump gets arrested, suddenly now it's this terrible thing. And when he doesn't even show humility, he doesn't even give in to the struggle session. Now it's absolutely terrible. There's no actual standards here, obviously. It's just whatever works for them, right? There's no standard here.
What's interesting is that even in the polls, it seems that Democrats themselves believe that Trump is being politically persecuted.
Well, yeah, the issue is it's getting very difficult to make it seem like anything else. Like, because everyone in the US, no matter even how ideologically blinded you are, knows that politicians always get off. Like, it's been demonstrated again and again, all the way back into the Clinton and before, etc. This is an accepted fact. And so when they see a politician with a mugshot, most of them realize, oh, hold on, the rules are changing.
Well, here's the thing. It could also be, and this is what I think it is. I don't think the rules are changing. I think it's that Trump was an exceptionally poor criminal. You know what I mean? Like everyone mocks Hillary for the whole wipe it with a cloth when she talked about her server, right? But she, at the very least, was not dumb enough to go on the stand and admit everything she had done. And that's probably why nothing happened to Hillary in the end. Trump, being just one giant ego, has no qualms about admitting things when he does them, which is probably part of the reason why he's in hot water.
No.
Yes.
No.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly did he admit to do?
I know with the documents case for sure. He admitted on. I showed you this, Arch. You saw it in between ArchCast a few weeks ago. He was recorded with the documents saying, "Look at these documents. They're classified. I could have declassified them, but I didn't. Do you want to see them?" Like that's just mens rea right there. Like they have him on that. The other charges seem to be kind of trumped up, especially like the one about Stormy Daniels. But the documents charge, Trump's done. Like he's fucked. They have such ironclad evidence on this guy. He's like he's done.
Again, the problem is that Biden also had classified documents in his garage.
True.
It's
True.
like
So
here's most president. Right. So this is why people find it to be political persecution, because like they do not apply the same standards across the board.
They did though. That's actually wrong. So what they tend to do is they'll go, because I mean Obama had documents, Clinton had documents, Hillary Clinton had documents. Mike Pence had documents, Trump had documents, and Biden had documents because they all worked in some capacity in the executive branch. So they all had clearance to have these documents. But as soon as they left office, they didn't have clearance anymore. So what happens is the federal government goes to them and says, "Hey, you have some of these documents, you have to give them back." And they all say, "Oh, sorry, my bad." And then like out of let's say just general decency, they don't charge them. So Mike Pence was asked to give him back, he gave him back. Obama was asked to give him back, he gave them back. There was no argument, he just did it. All right. So no one got charged. Trump actually fought with the feds over keeping the documents for over a year. And that's why he's getting charged. He didn't want he was given that grace of like, here, just give him back and we're cool. He just had not to do it. I don't fucking know why, but he decided not to do it. He decided to lie about it, and so he's gonna get fucked now. Like that's entirely Trump's own doing.
I think it's simply an excuse.
Same.
Yep. Because again, all of the other politicians have done the same and worse over and over again. Hell, even the wiretapping of Trump's campaign, for example, which we now know for a fact that Obama signed off on. Ronald Reagan was thrown out of office for a billionth of that. Like Watergate was not comparable. It didn't even make the news. Like it's
you mean Nixon,
happened.
Right?
Yeah, Nixon. Excuse me.
Yeah. So I see. This is what I mean. But like, I'm not saying that any other politician is innocent, because we have enough circumstantial evidence to know they probably did something. But with Trump, we have more conclusive evidence, and that's kind of the point here: is that Trump wasn't even smart enough to cover up his own tracks. At least Hillary did, right? At least Obama and Bush did, but Trump didn't even do that. And I think that's why it's happening. Like, I guess the lesson is, if you want to be like a political criminal, you have to be smarter than this.
Again, I disagree, simply because we've also got examples of, for example, Bill Clinton, who was caught lying, and we could. Literally, it was proven that he did wrong, and he still skated. Like, this is an accepted fact in the political class. You cannot.
Do you mean about Monica Lewinsky, or?
Yeah.
What do you? Okay, well, I mean, that's a little bit less serious. It's just cheating, right? Like, it's not good, but you haven't broken a law there.
It is an accepted fact that the political class just gets away with things. And is it right? No, obviously not. But it is how it works. And so when you see one person go down and nobody else, it looks like persecution. Because it is. That is the key core concept of it here.
Service guaranteed.
Trump is being targeted because he is Trump. And even if he did everything right, they would still simply just keep coming. This is a political ploy, which is why every case against him is delayed until right around the start of the new year. Campaign season at its highest.
Yeah, I think like that's the biggest tell. I think like he's got one case, which is literally 1 day before the primary. Like it's very difficult not to see this as political persecution.
That's the issue. Even if we assume Trump is guilty in everything, I'm still far more sympathetic to his position for the simple fact that he is at least being
service guaranteed citizenship
targeted. Like, that alone gives me sympathy for him, knowing that he is being targeted for a specific political reason rather than any pursuit of justice.
Service guaranteed
As he said, like in the debate with Hillary Clinton, remember that? Where Hillary was like, "Oh, well, you don't pay your taxes, Donnie," and he goes like, "Yeah, because I know the system is broken. I use the system when I can use the system. I play by your rules. If you want to change that, change the system."
Hold on, real quick. There's a lot of people angry at me in the chat. Listen, I want you to super chat all
quite
your
normal.
objections, okay? So super chat them. Send the super chats, and we'll answer them later, okay? Arch, this arrangement's pretty lucrative for you.
I know.
I come on and rile people up. Okay, so have you guys looked at the actual Georgia indictments?
No.
Okay. I took a little meander through them. It's like 101 pages. It's kind of ridiculous. The reason why the Georgia indictments are kind of crazy is because they're charging Trump using RICO laws. You guys know what RICO laws are?
Yes,
fight the
against
mafia, I think.
organized crime stuff.
Yeah. The idea of a RICO law is basically that, like, if everyone's in on a plot, you can charge everyone with everyone else's felonies. The common example used to explain a RICO law is, like, let's say that, you're the getaway
Heresy's the
driver
question.
in a
Fire
home
is the
burglary,
answer.
and the home burglary turns into a murder. Well, you didn't actually murder anyone. Your friends in the home did, but because you were their getaway driver, you can be charged with felony murder. So that's the basic explanation. So they have a RICO case set up with Trump and
Service
18
guarantees
other people,
citizenship.
including like Sidney Powell and Giuliani and like all the big players of the thing. And they're saying that like Trump, as well as everyone else, but Trump is guilty of everything that everyone in that group did using basically the RICO statute. And there's a lot of stuff in there. Like, if you actually look at what Trump himself did in a vacuum, it does seem to be just calling up the Georgia, it was Secretary of State, the Georgia
Heresy's
Secretary
the
of State, I
question.
think, and
Fire
asking
is
him
the
to find
answer.
11,700 whatever votes. They're interpreting that as him trying to like
To
unduly influence
fabricate
the election.
the votes, yeah.
Yeah, which is like that's a bit of a stretch because he could very easily have simply meant I need those votes. I want you to find legitimate votes, like do a recount, right?
Yeah,
You could.
I mean that's
yeah.
how I interpreted the whole.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's a bit of a stretch. But then you look at like some of the stuff that Sidney Powell did, or some of the stuff that like people that Trump employed did, and it actually is quite bad. So I think they're trying to rope Trump in using RICO laws. It doesn't feel quite right, but I mean there might be some legal basis for it. But this is one of those ones that just kind of morally feels like a bit of a stretch. The documents one, I'm fully on board with Trump. Like he just fucked up. It was him. He did it. He's guilty. Okay, but like this one doesn't feel like it might be solid legally, but it doesn't feel solid morally.
No, I listened to the document thing you sent me too. I don't think it's conclusive, but I do admit that it sounds very damning. I would like to see the actual like visual evidence, but it is probably enough to be past the point of reasonable doubt.
Mhm.
You know that there have been 2 cases of U.S. presidential candidates that ran their campaign from prison.
Has there?
Yes. So basically, I'm really curious, like, what happens if you get elected? Like, do they pardon themselves,
I have
or do
lost.
they remain in prison?
Shit.
I mean, you just pardon yourself, I imagine.
Yeah, but like, what if they don't wanna?
Well,
Hold on. So Trump still has his Secret Service detail, right? Like
Yeah,
all
they
former
have
presidents
to,
did.
so?
Prison. Yeah, they
Yeah.
do have to go to prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think like they have to stay
well-
in the cell that he is in.
Yes. Hold on. I've described this in my own stream. It's a pretty good joke. Like imagine some sort of like comedy movie where the president goes to jail and then his Secret Service agent has to go into the jail with him. And he's just like, oh, I got to protect you now in the jail yard, played by Channing Tatum or something. That'd be a good movie.
No, I know what you mean. Like, they do actually have to go with him.
Mhm.
But I think like they don't have to literally be in the same prison cell with him.
I imagine they would probably, like, in the case of a president going to jail, I am sure they would make a great deal of special considerations.
Arrangements.
Yes. Because you can't have him dying.
Heresy's the question.
And there would probably
Fire
be a
is the
fair
answer.
few in there who'd be interested in that.
But also, since Trump is the ultimate legal authority, if he becomes president again, he could just, write himself and get a jail-free card,
Right.
Yeah.
Setting aside even the debate as to whether or not he's
Service
done something
guarantees
wrong, because
citizenship.
frankly, I consider that to be virtually irrelevant in this case. Beyond straight-up murder, like clerical errors/crimes, I care not for in the case of Trump. But what do you think the effects of this are going to be? The mugshot. Now that they've got him on file, scowling at the camera. What do you think the effects are going to be?
Oh, he's gonna become a hero for the right. Absolutely. This like the left thinks, oh, we're gonna take Trump down a peg and like we're gonna humiliate him. That's just gonna make his supporters love him more. They're doing 2016 again. That's all they're doing. And they're so stupid. They haven't figured out that
Heresy's the question.
they
Fire
handed
is the
Trump the
answer.
presidency with their bad behavior, and they're doing the exact same bad behaviors again.
Okay.
Yeah, what's interesting is that before I didn't see people sharing memes with Trump. I mean, it was kind of like, like the whole, it's just not a re-election type of atmosphere. But now, like, people that aren't even talking about politics usually are sharing memes with Trump, and they're having a laugh.
Heresy's the question.
Yeah,
Fire
so
is the
definitely
answer.
it didn't come up the way they expected it.
Yep.
Well, there is, of course, also the thing that this seems to have sparked the Trumphalophagus' return to Twitter as well. And he had to. He had to. Like, it would be stupid not to use Twitter, one of his most effective campaign tools. And I agree with both of you on this. I think this has tremendously reinvigorated people. Because previously, like, people knew that they were after him. People were like, okay, yeah, he's been charged with 600 years in jail, etc., blah, blah, blah. But it probably didn't feel necessarily as real. But the mugshot has brought it home to his supporters in that, yeah, no, they are actually going after him. And to the left in that, oh, shit, this helps him. Now what do? We gotta attack him. We gotta find some other way to claim our pound of flesh. And some of that shit, have some of you seen the
Heresy's
the
the
reactions
question.
from the
Fire
left
is
to
the
this?
answer.
They're livid. They're upset that he's using this in order to boost his campaign.
And it's the oh god, the level of it. Okay, so how are they going to find a way to attack him effectively here, right? So I found this. This is the ex-founder of the Lincoln Project. You probably remember that, right?
The one with the pedophiles, yeah.
Yes, the professional scam. His main takeaway was that Trump weighed 215 pounds, and that's what he's obsessing about. That is the left's current attack angle. That he lied about his weight, they allege.
Well,
So-
what else did he
Heresy's
lie
the
about?
question.
Well,
Fire
hold
is
on.
the answer.
They have to weigh him when you go to jail. Like, they do the weighing.
Yes, and
So-
they're presumably assuming that he bribed the jailers or something.
It's like the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. I don't think the president has direct jurisdiction over them. Or even the former president has direct jurisdiction over them. I think he actually probably does weigh 215. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no way
and
this is a fake weight. Like, I don't believe it.
the thing is, he's actually we know his weight already. He's talked about his weight previously, and he mentioned it as 210, 215. So it seems consistent with the weight it is, and this has become a big thing now. You have our politics on Reddit is making a like fact buster campaign. All right, here you go, Slate, behind Donald Trump's most outlandish lie yet. My God, they are desperate.
Yeah, like literally, who the fuck cares? This is
Who
like
the fuck cares?
Yeah, this is the hand shaking with the water glass type of news.
Yeah,
I guess.
this is the two
Two
scoops of
scoops
ice
of
cream.
ice creams. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Dev is correct. We are returned to 2016, where they're frantically freaking out, like, oh my god, okay. We've got to find something. Attack him with something. He's fat. Go for that.
Here's the thing.
Question.
There
Fire
actually
the
is a
answer.
way that the mainstream media could at least semi-effectively attack Trump. There's a way for them to do it. They're just losing their minds again. They're just going
Yes.
full Trump derangement syndrome again. Because here's the thing. Did you guys watch the Republican primary that happened at the same time? It was a day or two ago, I think.
No,
No?
I could not care less about
watched
the
Trump.
Republican primary of guaranteed losers.
Well, yeah, because like I think like Trump has around like a 50% approval rating, and DeSantis is like 25, and everyone else is like in the single digits. So it still does seem to be Trump as the front runner, right? So Trump decides not to show up to the primary. He goes to do an interview with Tucker Carlson instead.
Yeah, I watched that
And then
one,
and then you have like all the second place people who are there. And there was that Indian guy, was his name Vivek. He did pretty well for a while. Nikki Haley did pretty well. Chris Christie, who seems to only exist to like torpedo other people's careers, he's done that consistently for the last 20 years in Republican primaries. He never actually wins himself, but he fucks with other people, so that's good. Mike Pence did well. Ron DeSantis did worse than I thought he would, but Mike Pence actually did okay. So what basically,
Mike Pence is the one that doesn't care about the American cities. Yeah.
If the mainstream wanted to actually attack
Service
Trump
guarantees
and probably
citizenship.
do more damage to him than they're doing now, it would simply be to focus their coverage on the official proceedings. Talk about the Republican primary. Make that the front page. Say Donald Trump didn't show up. Donald Trump decided not to appear. Donald Trump had nothing to say. Like, you could go down that route and hurt Trump that way, but instead they're just freaking out over his weight because they're idiots.
They're like, he lied about how fat he is. Like, oh no. And what they don't
Not to
understand
mention, and by the way, this is like during the time when the left bitches about fat shaming and how you should never do it.
Literally
Like,
last
you
week we
can't-
saw Hassan Piker go like, don't punch down against fat people.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the whole thing
Lizzo
is like,
stuff,
you can't,
yeah.
you can't prime people, like you can't condition them to not care about weight and then expect them to care when you complain about Trump. Like, it just doesn't work that way.
And the issue is too, like, the entire whole, like, I've mathed it out. Trump lies about his weight. The Slate article, for example, is like, okay, he weighs as much as, like, Muhammad Ali, but he's clearly fat. That can't be true. You understand that muscle weighs a lot more than fucking fat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Like per volume, yeah.
It's a lot denser. Like, you can... like, again, like you said, they're driving themselves mad. And the worst part, too, is Trump does, to a degree, understand this, which is why he went on the Tucker Carlson interview. Because he knew that if he showed out of the Republican primary, the only thing that would happen was that every single one of the other ones would, with beaming laser eyes, turn towards him and go, Orange man, bad. So why not instead say, fuck that, and go talk to Tucker in front of 259.9 million views currently? It's a no-brainer.
those
The
are
idea
impressions.
of not debating
Hold on.
is not... Yeah,
Well, yes, impressions. So theoretically...
Yeah, those are impressions, not views. Yeah.
Well,
So like,
technically...
well, here's the thing. This is something that the mainstream media is getting wrong because they're idiots, right? So like, an impression is basically like, if you scroll by the video on Twitter, that counts as like one
Heresy's the
impression.
question.
So
Fire
it's
is
not
the
necessarily
answer.
that many views, but it's still a big fucking number. Like, it's still nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, like, I think the rule is, like, if you look at it for, like, 2 or 3 seconds, it counts as a view. So...
Yeah.
It's not necessarily as impressive, but the point still remains. Trump could either go and talk to someone he knows is friendly to him, to a still significantly large audience, or he could go to talk to an actively hostile audience. And the reason why we do debates is because it was a way to get your message out there, of course, back in the day. It was like, here's my politics, here's my policy, please, come to me, vote for me. And eventually that devolved more into like, okay, but I need to attack the other guy's politics too, which is where we are today. But this is only
I have
relevant so long as the debate itself can draw enough eyes to it. If you can go live and achieve similar views without the danger of being challenged, that is a vastly superior political strategy. At least when your opponent is too stupid to call you out on it.
Yeah, because the right angle would be like, look, Trump ditched the debate. He can't actually have his ideas like face up against scrutiny. That makes him not fit to be ruler, basically, because politics is about debate on some level. You can go that angle of argument, but I don't think anybody in the Republican side has the balls to say that.
Has AOC ever debated someone that's a right winger?
I
mean, no, like, unironically, we do not live in the age of debate. Like, the last debate that I saw, which was like genuinely good, was between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris.
Oh, what was that? Was that 2020?
Yeah.
Well, Jesus, like, if it ends up being Trump and Biden again, Biden's like barely present, so I don't know how that's going to work out.
I
He
mean,
was
I
barely
don't know how
present
they
last
managed
time.
to get him. Yeah, I don't know how they managed to get him last time to be somewhat present. So
Like, I'm not convinced that it's going to be a political debate, but we haven't heard YouTube's official ruling on upcoming elections yet, so let's not get into it.
So here's the thing. All right,
I have lost.
it seems to be the case that against the will of the RNC or the GOP, I guess, as an institution, Trump's going to be the nominee. He'll be the most popular one.
Yes.
So either they just bar him from running, which they could do just by fiat, but then they'll probably like fracture the American right. They're just all fucked. All right.
Yeah.
They could bar him from running, or he could run, but I'm not sure he'll actually win in 2024 if he ran. So like it seems like the Republicans are just fucked for now. No, okay. If he ran as an independent, he would lose because the right wing would fracture. But I think if he ran against Biden as the GOP's candidate, I still don't think he would win. I think there's too many people now who are like, just whether or not you agree with all the indictments and the lawsuits and everything, I think that will tarnish his image enough with like the centrist voter that they're just not going to go for Trump this time around the way they did in 2016.
I don't know, because the question is how much of a center remains. Now, you've got the GOP people, and none of them are worth discussing. That's the problem, again. Ron DeSantis is like, okay, DeSantis is my favorite, but he is running too early. Strategically, tactically, on every level, this isn't his year, and he should have known it, and he is spending a tremendous amount of public capital on something he knows he can't achieve, which is just, it's foolish.
He should have waited till 2028, like either Trump gets his second term and then retires, or Trump loses again and then he's done. After 2 losses, you're done. So either way, then it would be time for Ron DeSantis to come in 2028. But he didn't want to wait. He should have waited. And
so the Republicans really only have one choice here. It's got to be Trump. If they wish to continue as a political party, it has to be Trump. Because if you, as you say, they refuse and they base that on something like, oh, you didn't participate in our election thing, he didn't participate in our debates, etc., it will completely destroy the Republican Party. I think there's so many Trumpers within the Republican Party right now that if that happened, it would be the end of the GOP. Like, best case scenario, you would have 2 parties emerge. Worst case scenario, there would simply be no right wing in American politics for the next 10 years.
Yep.
So they've kind of found themselves in a little bit of a bind here. And the question is then, how badly do they want to try and do this? Because I think Trump, does he have a chance? Disregarding any other factors, shall we say, I would normally say that there is no way he could lose to Biden. Just the sheer political energy difference between the two seems like a slam dunk, but, well, that was proven incorrect in 2020, I suppose, so who knows. But could anyone else run in his place in the current moment? No. So...
I wonder who's going to run on the left, though, because I think it may not be Biden. I see the mainstream media turning against him. So.
It will be Biden, because he's decided, and the issue is his friends. I can't get too spicy on YouTube. They don't like that, but they can't be seen pulling the strings too publicly. And so when he said he's going to run... if he then comes out right before the election starts and go like, oh, poor health, everyone's going to know. And whoever they pick to run in his stead, it's going to make it so utterly blatant that it is not a political candidate. It is literally the establishment going, vote for this one.
Well, also, regardless of how you guys might like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris is significantly less popular.
Yeah, I was about to say.
If they just defaulted to the VP pick, she's lost. Like it's done.
Like Kamala Harris is unfathomably unpopular. Like, she has the charisma of a dead fruit.
I can't do the cackle. Can I do the cackle?
Is America ready for a female president? Maybe. Is they ready for their first
was a debate.
fruit? No.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, during the presidential debate for the Democrats, like Kamala just ass fucked Biden, like called him a racist, proved that he was a racist.
Yep.
And then, you know, like when she is asked to run as the VP, and simply because literally no one wanted to be VP, she was eventually asked, you know, I think it was by Stephen Colbert. It's like, but like you called him a racist, and you're like, how do you reconcile? Debate.
Yeah. And in a debate, you surely just hit him with anything and everything you've got, right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking like, okay, so basically like you don't believe what you're debating, because like if I were to call Arch a racist or a pedophile or whatever the fuck, right? Like you disassociate then. You don't just, you know, insult the person in public with the worst thing imaginable, and then you're still like, oh yeah, sure, I'll be his vice president. Like it doesn't make any sense.
No. But again, it's because it's the politics of it all. And that is the problem. Again, because Trump's biggest chance to get in on this, to win, is to make it about politics instead. Because I sort of pseudo-agree with Dev when he says that Trump lost the 2020 election because it became an election about Donald Trump. It became a sort of like popularity contest. And I'm not sure Trump can win a popularity contest, simply because it's the same reason why I said that he might lose 2020, although even I thought he was going to win it, because 99% negative media coverage for 4 years does leave an effect. But if you can make it about politics and go like, okay, look at this rotten machinery. Look at it. You literally have the VP going like, the president's a racist. You want a job? Yes. Then he's got a much better chance.
Here's the thing, though. I think the whole like populist drain the swamp stuff, I don't think it'll go over with the undecideds the way it did in 2016, because they're going to ask the obvious question. You had 4 years. Why didn't you do any swamp draining? Well, can't argue with that.
I agree, but at the same time, Trump could literally just say, I had no idea how fucking deep it was. Because he tried, but he did make the enormous mistake of hiring people that he thought he could trust. Like, he hired people based on like his gut feeling and on a bit of an honor system. And every time, there was a new knife in his back.
Well, that's all true, but that just seems like Trump might be a pretty poor judge of character. Like, all of these points can kind of be spun against him, and I think it'll probably hurt his 2024 chances.
But I think if anyone is going... The problem is, too, if anyone is going to say they're going to drain the swamp, I don't think anyone will be believed as readily as Trump. I don't think there's another drain the swamp candidate. Like Mike Pence going like, oh yeah, I'm going to fix it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, Vivek kind of went down the drain the swamp alleyway in the debate, and it seemed believable from him. Like Vivek just seems to be like an Indian Trump, you know? He had a lot of the same things to say. He said them in a lot of the same ways. Actually, did you guys see the whole hands up controversy from the debate? Like that went viral. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, so
I don't watch losers, Dev.
Yeah,
okay, fine. But like, so hold on.
I will interrupt you, Dev, and I'll tell you, and I'll explain to you why this is irrelevant. It's because if I Google his name, I get the fucking boss from Elder Scrolls. The man has no presence. The man has no existence in the political spectrum. Literally, he's an irrelevancy.
All that debate was, Dev, all that debate was the Republicans choosing which one of them is going to lose against Trump. Like, that's what you were...
Yes.
And unless they bar Trump from running, yes.
And then I don't give a fuck about the Republican Party. Then I'll vote Democrat, because at least I side with the winners. Why would I side with the underdog? Like, I don't get... Like, if they bar Trump from running, they will split the vote in two. So, like, the Republicans won't win, and it's going to be the Democrats.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. This is why I think the Republicans are in a... between a rock and a hard place, because I don't think the GOP wants Trump. But I think if they bar him, they lose. If they allow him in, they still probably lose. Like there's no path forward for the GOP right now. They just seem to be fucked completely. But what I was getting at though is that there was one question where the moderator asks if Trump she asked, listen, if Trump is convicted and sentenced, will you pardon him? And the only person whose hand immediately shot up as high as it could go was Vivek. Everyone else was like putting their hand up like a little bit, kind of waffling, putting it up and putting it down. All of them appeared extremely weak. But Vivek was like, I'll do it. He just didn't give a fuck, right? That's why everyone is saying right now that like if it's not going to be Trump, Vivek will take up the torch of the anti-establishment on the right. Possibly.
All right, let's get to some of the super chats, as there were plenty of people that had words to say about Dev's as usual.
Before we jump onto that though, just real quick, just going back to the mugshot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, regardless of politics, I'm just so happy to see memes back again. You know, like Trump, regardless of what you think of him politically, he makes for a great meme. You know. Everything he does is meme worthy, and it's fucking great. I just love the entertainment factor of it, you know? I guess I can say that because I'm not an American. I like to see this sort of stuff.
Let's see. Some rando says, any chance you would re-upload your old gaming videos? Arma 3, Wolfenstein, etc.? I think they were lost when your channel got nuked. They're still there, so I could fetch them, but unlikely. I've got so much other stuff to do now. I mean, Starfield is right around the corner. That'll be a big thing. We'll even talk about that today. Fortusio with an oh god, okay. We're having ourselves a bidding war here, Dev. He says tip in support of Dev. Trump does not fully recognize he is an enemy of the state, and he's idiotically walked himself into that prosecution. Regardless, I hope his lawyers put a Hail Mary pass, and I still want him to win and go back to the White House. Possibly. Like, I do believe that is a reasonable explanation in many ways, that Trump thought that he's like, okay, well, I've seen other politicians do this and get away with it. Maybe I can. Like, no.
Yeah, see, here, my ideal, personally, is that I would like to see there be no shenanigans with Trump. If he's guilty, lock him up. Same thing with Hunter Biden. Same thing with everyone else. They should, if you're guilty, you go to jail. Doesn't matter, right? I don't like this idea of, well, other people got away with it, so my guy should get away with it. No. No one should get away with it. That's what we should aim for, in my opinion.
And having exited Narnia and the closet, Alex Hoffman says, who do you guys think did best in debate so far? I think the Veep did good.
Well, I mentioned, I know you guys didn't watch it, so I'll just answer that. I thought Vivek did well. He kind of embodied that Trump energy that is missing without Trump there on the stage. Ron DeSantis did not nearly as well as he should have, considering his popularity. This might actually be like the decline of DeSantis, because he kind of did very poorly. Mike Pence did pretty good, and Nikki Haley did pretty good. Aside from that, everyone else there was just kind of filling space.
Pence has a lot more work to do, and, well, we'll see. He's still got several more years. He's still young, you know. Michael DPS says, Space Marine 2 looks surprisingly good so far. I have seen some from it. I'm still worried about the whole, like, the trans main writer person thingy, but I hope it's good. And hey, it's not impossible, even for a trans person, to put aside their politics and write a good story, so
Heresy's the question. Fire is the answer.
Anubis Fox says, I bet V thinks the boxer rifle worked as intended. Do you, V? Do you think the boxer rifle worked as intended?
This guy, I'm willing to bet every fucking week he goes on Wikipedia and reads the entire encyclopedia just to find out like the most esoteric, ancient fucking guns that ever existed. What did the Chinese fire? Like the shit that has like an arrow tied to a dynamite? Like he's going to ask me about that next, isn't it?
You mean the screaming arrows? Yeah, those were pretty funny.
Yeah.
Free Golem says, Armored Core gets more fun when you get good enough that you no longer need to think so much about your next move before you make it skill equals fun. Well, that's the thing. I will differentiate the two, because I mentioned this as well. Armored Core feels less like a skill game, more about like an instinct game. That's the thing. Because in Sekiro, you can skill your way through an encounter, because you know what the boss is going to do at which point, and then you have the move to counter. It's like a dance where there are moves and there are counter moves. There are moves and there are responses, you know? And it's very intricate. Armored Core has too much stuff flying at you for you to make an informed decision, and half the time it's off-screen, making it even more difficult to make an informed decision. Like, when I figured out how to dodge through most of the missile volleys of the ball boss thing, for example, it wasn't because I'd figured out how the missiles worked, and I'd figured out that, oh, if I just hammer the button madly when my little brain goes like, now, I can get through it. Like, there was no observations in that. It's more of an instinct game. Insane Hippie Sane says, Fulton County now has another famous person arrested photo besides MLK. Trump will be the new Martin Luther King. Do you think we'll look back at this in 50 years, Dev, if the corona hasn't killed us all by then, and go, yes, he was Martin Luther King?
I noticed, by the way, and this is quite shocking when you figure it out. I don't know how, like, it's in Norway, but it's kind of the same in Europe, and is definitely the same in the United States with the establishment. They don't promise people a better life. You know,
No.
like the Democrats don't even bother promising you a better life. Like, they promise that they're going to take your cars away, that they're going to take your gas stoves away, that they're going to shut down your AC. That's what they promise. They don't even bother to say, yeah, hey, vote for us. We're going to increase the standard of living.
Well, I think it's because they've kind of shifted away to, listen, if you want us to survive, we have to tighten our belts right now because of climate change, right? So, yes, we'll take away your AC and your gas stove and all that
Heresy
stuff.
is the question.
But
Fire is the
it'll
answer.
be better off. It'll be better than dying. You know, that's kind of their
It's
argument.
not even that. It's like, okay, we're going to have CBDC, and we're going to be locking you up, and then we're going to make sure that you have like 15-minute cities and that bullshit. You know, it's like control, authoritarianism.
Mhm.
And it's just so fucking bizarre. And even if they're like saying, okay, well, we need to tighten our belt, it's never going to be untightened. Like, you're going to have to live like shit from now on until the end of time.
Yep. Well, hold on. Like, do you? I'm thinking
No.
about it now.
No, I know what you're. No, I don't.
Okay, what
I
I'm
know
gonna ask?
what you
What I'm
wanna
gonna ask? Go ahead.
Heresy is the
Go.
question.
Yeah, if
Fire
I
is the
believe in the
answer.
thing, no. And I'm not going to say the thing not to get Arch in trouble. No, I don't believe in the thing, then.
Wait, what thing are you
Fuck
talking
the
about?
thing.
No, wait. What's the thing we're talking? I don't even know what you mean. Here, type it in the link channel. What do you mean? I don't know what you're referring to. Seriously, I don't know.
If I believe that Mother Gaia is angry.
Mother Gaia.
I don't know if I was gonna say that.
You
Well, no,
weren't going to say that?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, I haven't seen, like, I know that, like, the whole 15-minute city thing is all over Europe right now. I haven't seen many American politicians talk about it. I'm not sure if that's a talking point in the United
Well,
States.
they don't implement it worldwide. Like, it takes a lot of time to do something like this, but they're doing it in Australia. They're doing it in the UK. Not sure about Canada. But yeah, like, they are doing it in a lot of European countries as well.
Mhm.
And
Well, I
they do
think
it in
it's because,
China, so yeah.
I think it's because America and Canada are a bit different than the rest of the world in that we have a lot of untamed wilderness. You can't really do the 15-minute city thing here because you can just go off into the bush and disappear. Happens all the time, especially in
Really?
Canada. You know, we are by landmass much bigger than the United States, and we have like 1/10 of the population. You know,
But like, how
you
many
can.
people want to become Amish, Dev?
Well,
Like,
no, I understand. I understand, but like the level of centralized control that a state is able to exert when you're living in an environment that is kind of disconnected
Well,
and
like the
very
way they
big
fuck
and
the
very
truckers.
unpopulated. It's
Yeah,
just,
the way
it's
they
not,
fuck the truckers by seizing their bank accounts. Okay, go live in the middle of the wilderness, right? You need fertilizer. You need electronics in order to have access to some level of civilization. You need the gear in order to farm, like tractors and shit. If they seize your bank accounts, what do you do next?
no, I get the point, V. What I'm saying though is that the idea of a 15-minute city where you can't leave your city, I just don't think that the geography, the
Okay,
political environment,
all
any of
right,
it is
alright,
going to be
let's
is going to work
assume.
in Canada or America.
Yeah. Let's assume you have like
I have
a million people
lost
in a city,
shit.
right? How many of them are going to be Amishing the moment they install the 15-minute shit?
I don't think they're going to install it.
Even if 100,000 people would go, right? So like
Heresy's the
10% of the
question.
population
Fire
fucks
is
off
the
into the
answer.
wilderness. They still have 90% people that are going to be in the 15-minute city. I genuinely like do not like most authoritarian regimes throughout the history of mankind, from the Soviet Union to the Maoist China, there were always people that went and they started Amishing. And you know what the government did? Left them the fuck alone. So, like, if you're willing to live off the land in the middle of goddamn nowhere and renounce all of the beauties of civilization, yeah, you can. You know, like, the government probably lets you. Because it's not cost effective for them to go after every single guy that's in the middle of no fucking where next to Courage the Cowardly Dog. But, like, that's not what we are going to do, right? Like, I don't think you are going to go on a plantation somewhere in the middle of the fucking forest and live off the land.
Here's the thing. I don't think that they're going to implement the 15-minute city.
Why?
At least not here. I don't think so.
Why? I'm willing to bet if I Google it, I'll find it. I'm willing to.
You will definitely find some retard in Canada saying we should do it, but it's not going to happen. There are no mainstream politicians talking about it.
15 minutes.
Yeah,
I'll do it too. Bet. I'm willing to bet there is something.
Of course, there's some
that's
idiot
going to happen. Oh, there we go. Canada, 15-minute cities coming your way. Literally the first fucking
Vancouver, close to achieving 15-minute city status.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, man. Like, it's not illegal to leave these cities. That's kind of the point. That's what it is. It's like it's illegal to travel. That is the cornerstone of the 15-minute city idea, is that it is illegal to travel, and that's not going to be implemented because it's just unpopular. No one in Canada wants that.
No one in the United overnight. That's the whole thing. Remember the pandemic, right? When they started implementing the measures, they didn't go into full lockdown from day one. In the beginning, they were like, okay, well, if you travel with the airplane, you have to mask up. And then they went like, okay, well, we need to social distance and mask up and blah, blah, blah. And then they started shutting down some businesses. And it's like, it's gradual. It doesn't happen overnight.
Well, V, where's all those restrictions now?
Well, like the restrictions were lifted by Putin the moment he invaded Ukraine. Like literally on the fucking clock. No, I'm not even kidding.
No, they're all gone. Here's the thing: when the people wanted restrictions, we had them. When they became politically unpopular, they stopped. That's the truth of it. That's the truth of it, man.
15-minute cities, yeah, like the CBDC shit. You know, there's people.
Okay. Then how come they didn't convince them to keep wanting the restrictions? Why did that fail? It's because the democratic will of the people. No, it's not because Putin. No,
it is literally the next day. No. Like I'm telling you here in my country, it was literally the next day. I'm not even kidding.
I have
like
lost.
The moment that Russia invaded Ukraine, and you have Boris Johnson going around and saying, "Oh, we're going to support Ukraine," blah blah blah. That literal moment, and do you know why? It was because the Ukrainian refugees that were coming into Romania. You wouldn't be able to like just start scanning them for ID and to see if they have their booster shot, because if you did so if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be able to justify why the Romanians have to do it. And if you did do that, then it would seem cruel, like you're not allowing people to flee war because they don't have their QR code.
Okay, but that's not how it happened here, and that's the point. Is that here in Canada and in the United States. When they were popular, they were implemented. When they became unpopular, they stopped. It's as simple as that. There's no top-down elite controlling everything. It was simply what people wanted.
I'll explain how, right?
No.
George Floyd dies. No, hear me out, right?
Okay.
So you have like full restrictions, full lockdowns. Like everyone stays at home, stays safe, right? You got a couple of chuckleheads that I think it was like 20 people that went on Capitol Hill to protest. They were labeled as fucking terrorists, if I remember correctly, right? Then George Floyd dies. Everyone is like, no, you need to go out now, go out and burn cities, because like I suppose civil rights and shit. Okay, in defense of looting, the book gets published on Amazon. Everyone now goes out. Business is still closed, by the way, but everyone is encouraged to go out. Biden wins elections. Everyone back inside. You want to tell me that there's no control, right? It's not like whatever the television tells you is going to be implemented. Like notice how the fear-mongering on television went away the moment the Russians entered Ukraine. Like all of a sudden, you don't have like the number of deaths on CNN. You don't have all the fear-mongering and all the panic and shit. Like there is no way you can convince me that all of this is just grassroots. You know, like people just want restrictions, and all of a sudden restrictions are implemented, and the next day people don't want them, and they're lifted. I do not believe that, Dev. I'm sorry.
Hold on a second. Just give me a quick second here.
All right.
But I'm looking at it.
I am going to need to yank both of your chains because this is getting out of control.
I'm check. No, I gotta fucking say this. Someone said this in the chat. It sounded right. I wanted to look it up, and it was correct. All right. In Canada, restrictions started getting lifted before the Ukraine war. So I don't know how it is in Romania or in Europe, but here, when they started to become unpopular, they started to be lifted. So at the very least
when
here,
the truckers were striking, yeah, like when the truckers were striking and they were seizing their bank accounts, is that when they lifted the restrictions, Dev?
could have been around the same time. Yeah, that was early 2022.
So maybe that event caused it. I don't know, but like,
so you mean that when the people object, the government does what they want? Yes, that's what I've been saying.
Yeah,
this whole time.
when the people object,
it's not
the
actually
government
top
seized
down
their bank accounts.
Well,
yeah.
first the government crushes them.
Stop.
Yes.
Calm
down,
this is the
both
point.
of
It's
you.
not
This is
just
not going anywhere.
top-down control. It's not just top-down control.
We
I don't
need
believe that
to
for a
live-
second.
I would
Yankee,
have like
Yankee.
other counterpoints, but Arch wants me to shut the fuck up. So I'll shut the fuck
I
up.
have wait. Super chat about it, okay? Continue the conversation in super chats, guys.
Rocket Insano says it's not about arguing whether or not he's being politically prosecuted, it's about whether or not you think that's okay.
Service
Also silent
citizenship.
Yeah, no, he is being politically prosecuted. Like, because again, in theory, I of course agree with Dev's idea that if you do something wrong, you should go to jail. But pigs do not fly past my window every morning so I can shoot one of them down for breakfast. And until that happens, we're gonna have to live in the world we are in. Elias Great says, y'all are in copium. Dev is right. Oh, Dev, your supporters have started showing up. I don't know how I feel about this.
Oh.
Friends of Dev?
Well, if they have deep pockets, you can't complain.
Insane Hippie Sane says, Dev, it is a recording of a conversation. Who has the proof he had the said documents in his hand at the time? See, that is what I would say too, in that it is not definitive. In a normal courtroom, I would give it at best a 50-50, because it's dependent upon whether or not the judge is like, okay, yeah, no, I think this means this.
I have lost.
But in a Trump courtroom, yeah, it's good enough. See, that's the problem. I agree with Dev in this idea that Trump probably thought he could get away with something he'd seen other people get away with. But Trump should also at this point understand that if he farts incorrectly, he's probably going to be up on charges for public order disturbance.
What they'll have to do is subpoena the other people on the call and ask them what he was holding. Because if they can get them all to agree that it was some sort of classified document, they're probably going to squash all of those doubts.
Possibly. So John says, Bill Clinton lied under oath, Deb. That's true now that you mention it.
Wasn't it about the cheating, though? It was about the,
yeah, but that
I did not have sex
because,
with that woman.
Lying under oath is a crime in and of itself at that point.
Yeah,
and I believe he lied to Congress, didn't he? Like, that's a... Yeah, that's a good point, Sujad. Thank you.
Well, they should have fucked him for it.
They should have.
No, but like what Arch is saying is that politicians do not get punished, right? So seeing the mugshot of a politician is why people believe that this is political persecution. And it's like it's a high-ranking politician, because if it was just anyone, you know, like a senator or something, like people would get used to the idea, okay, like we're finally draining the swamp. But when it's literally before an election, then, you know, like the timing is a little bit interesting.
Service guarantees citizenship.
1 day before the primaries court date timing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's...
You know what?
Go on.
I'm thinking about it a little bit, and I'm not that sympathetic to this idea that it's such a terrible thing that he's being politically persecuted. Because, remember, back in 2016, right at the end of the election and shortly after it, what was the line from Trump fans? It was lock her up. They wanted to politically persecute Hillary. So this idea that suddenly going after your political opponent, if they have legitimately done something wrong, is off the table, I don't buy it. The right wanted to do that. Now it's coming back.
Like that's
no, they didn't. No, they didn't, because she was smarter than Trump when it came to committing crime. It's as simple as that. She was smarter than Trump when it came to
deleted the emails. Yes,
exactly. But here's the thing. Though. If we're talking about this moral grandstanding I have
about
lost.
persecuting your political opponents. It's hypocrisy coming from right-leaning people right now who are like, I can't believe they're doing this to Trump. Oh my God, you guys wanted to do it to Hillary. You just failed at doing it to Hillary.
Yeah, Dev, if Hillary would have been like right before the elections, like let's say, actually a better example would be if Joe Biden right before the elections in 2020 would have been arrested by the DOJ and they would have started, like pulling folders, but like right before the campaign. Yeah, people would call that political persecution. If Trump would have been like investigated after he lost, like maybe 1 year after he lost, they would have raided Mar-a-Lago. People would have been less likely to say that it was political persecution.
Well, the thing is, the reason it took them so long to raid Mar-a-Lago is because they asked Trump for the files back pretty much initially, and Trump said, I don't have them. And then they conducted like a year-long investigation to finally discover that, oh, he did actually have them. So that's why it took that long
that
to
would
raid
be 2
Mar-a-Lago.
years, Dev.
Yeah.
But even then, even in a country like Romania, which most people wouldn't consider to be a bastion of democracy, although I would say it is, you do not go after a person within election season because it looks fucking bad. You either go after the election season or in the middle of like the term that the other person is serving, right? So like at 2 years or something. But like during the period when like the elections are coming, you don't go after people. It looks like awful on camera.
No, I completely agree with you.
So.
The optics of this are terrible. Yes, the optics are terrible.
You can wait a couple of months, right? If you haven't done it up until then. So
I agree with you. Like, well, I think in a previous stream that we had, I mentioned that like, yes, if Trump did it, he should be punished. Simple as that. Like, that's how it is. You commit the crime, you do the time. Fine. But like what will it do to American democracy? That's like another conversation that is kind of like unsettling to think about, right? Because regardless of whether or not he's guilty, he's still very popular. And what will it do to the electorate even if it's legitimate, if you arrest and lock up somebody who's very popular? What will it do to the fabric of your democracy? Like that's a rough question.
Okay, so if you make a clear case that indeed that person is guilty, sure. But with Trump, like they indicted him how many times? Like, how many times did they, like, ever since he won office, they constantly harassed and persecuted him?
There's been four cases, yeah.
Yeah.
4 big cases.
Right, like that's the thing, like, when if you were being accused, Dev, like, let's say the Canadian government would come after you. I like, first time, I would be like, well, shit. I mean, I didn't know I was friends with the criminal. Like, clearly, if there's smoke, there's fire. He must have done stuff. But I see you're coming out clean, right? Like, they couldn't prove you're guilty. And I'm like, okay, the second time they're coming after you. I'll be like, okay, well, maybe now they're going to get him. And if you're still not guilty, and they go the third, the fourth, by the fifth time, I would say that the government is persecuting you, Dev. Unironically,
here's the thing, though, V. Well, just wait. That all makes sense. However, none of these cases has concluded yet, so we don't know legally if Trump is guilty or innocent yet on any of these cases.
No. Hold on. The impeachments were concluded. Like that is actually considered to be for a president to be the same like if a judge is investigating him.
Okay, here. Let's say hypothetically, in 5 years down the road, we learn that Trump on all of these cases, even the more unlikely ones, he's found guilty on all of them. Will you say that it's all just political persecution and none of it's real and they're just destroying a man who's innocent? Or will you say that, oh, maybe Trump actually was guilty?
The question is, like, do I actually have faith in the judicial system of the United States, which knew that Hunter Biden laptop is true, but told social media to not report on it and to shut it down?
The FBI is not the judge. That's the executive.
No, but they're the ones that are making the accusations and gathering the evidence, right? And if they're corrupt, why would I assume that?
You're changing.
No. Like, I will answer your question. I have no faith in the institutions. Simple as. Yeah.
All right. See, I do. So because here's the thing: if you have like multiple different jurisdictions,
you can be gullible if you want. That's fine.
No. It's not gullibility. It's like if you have multiple different cases in multiple different states with different judges, different prosecutors. You have Trump-appointed judges. You have like Obama-appointed judges. People like from all over, and they're all coming together and they're giving you the same answer. There's probably something to it.
Right. So you don't believe that corruption can happen at a national level? Like you do not believe that tin horn democracies can exist. Do you think that the tin horn democracy just pops up overnight, or like at one point that country had like legitimate institutions? Like, do you think it's the soil that makes the country?
So then how do you know then, right? How do you know that every single court case that has ever happened is not just bullshit?
I mean, it doesn't.
Every single election that's ever happened is not
like
just bullshit.
It has.
No, it doesn't. But it doesn't have to be every single one. But I could levy this accusation at anything I don't like.
I could easily point out, right? Like because in the previous elections, you could at least question them. Right, like Hillary Clinton questioned her elections before Hillary Clinton Bush had his elections questioned for some fucking reason, mysteriously so. During the Trump election, you weren't allowed to question it.
So the difference is that at the end of the day, I know, for example, with Bush specifically, Al Gore went through all of his court appeals. Yes. The appeals came through. They said, nope, we've done the recounts. We've examined the evidence. Sorry, Al Gore, you've lost. And then Al Gore said, listen, I don't agree with the court's decision, but I respect it. I will stand down. Bush, you're the winner. And he took his loss with grace. All right. Trump didn't do that. And Trump's the only president to ever exist who hasn't done that, as far as I understand. That's why it's different.
But I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking is that I personally, on YouTube, couldn't cast my opinion unless...
Yeah, that's obviously bullshit. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, bullshit.
Well, thank you. Right?
And
so
now,
this is why
I must step in
I lost faith in the institutions.
I am granting you, Little Spurs, 5 minutes tops per waffling conversation.
Wait, Arch, aren't you enjoying this? Aren't we having fun here?
I am, but every time we run out of time and we can't do all of the topics.
Okay, sorry.
Which is why I'm awarding you 5 minutes.
Okay.
Artemis Fowl says the recording Dev is referencing is literally Trump showing a newspaper headline, and you can hear him opening the newspaper in the recording. Where's the video portion, Dev? Why aren't you curious? I have heard of the newspaper thing. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where.
I've heard it too. Yeah, I've heard it too. I haven't seen that like resubstantiated anywhere except for Twitter. So I mean, if it is, we'll see. But
I am suspicious by the audio recording, because who the fuck records only audio today?
Well, if you have like your your phone in your pocket or something, just to like kind of sneak something, it makes sense to only record audio.
Even then, your phone, the recording thing on your phone is literally your camera thing too. Yeah,
but then you just see like a black screen. It'd just be
but then we should see the black screen.
we should see the inside of that girl's pocket.
Yes, unironically. Whenever there's something that's weirdly missing, I go a little bit like, why?
Well, you know what? I still trust the court system in the States, so I'm willing to wait and see what comes out in court on that one.
You trusted when they trialed the Epstein case, and they decided for some reason to keep that trial behind closed doors, unlike like the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and then they decided to seal up everything about that trial. So, like for example, the list of people that went on the Epstein Isle is sealed in that thing.
Give me just a second. Hold on. Yeah, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, that was a state level trial, right? I think it was. I don't think it was federal. Here's the thing. I've heard this. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it from a bunch of sources that federal trials are generally not televised and state trials generally are. So it would make sense that if Epstein had a federal trial, it wouldn't be televised. As for the sealing of the documents, yeah, I don't agree with that. That's bullshit.
Dryfee says, I keep forgetting how much media Trump has been in for the last 30 years. Before, I never really paid attention to him. I just saw him in an old episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith.
Fire is the answer.
I remember seeing that episode, yeah.
Or
in Home Alone 2.
Trump used to be pretty popular, and then he ran for a political office.
It's that he ran for political office as a Republican that kind of tanked him, because he was very popular among Democrats, and like his positions for a long time were identical to like 90s business Dems, So
yeah, but I think if he ran for the Democrats, he would have been Bernie Sanders, because you saw what happens when you're not supposed to win and you're going for the Democrats.
I'm sure.
Hold on, do you think that like Bernie Sanders was rigged against him too?
I mean, it was pretty fucking obvious, Dev.
No, I'm pretty sure he was just unpopular.
If the television tells you that the sky is green, do you automatically fucking believe it because it comes from an institution?
So no, hold on. So when the polls come in and Bernie
Yeah.
Sanders loses an election, you're like, oh, they must have printed extra votes or something. Like what do you think
Like,
here? Like what's going on?
The first election for Bernie Sanders was literally stolen from him.
I don't think so.
And he
I
did
think he just
also. Sanders also went on to actually say that it was rigged, and that was why he refused to support the winner. So that was the one case of a a very Trumpian response, shall we say?
Nah, I think that's just cope. He lost and he was coping about it.
Glow in the Dark says, remember this saying, the personal is policy. Doesn't matter what the policy is, it is who enforces it that matters. Hagner the Viking, I want to see Dev talk to Rakita Law about this case because he is assuming a lot of things that isn't actually set in stone. I would like to see that. Dev, send Rakita a Twitter message.
I don't even think he knows who I am.
Well, I'm sure he does.
I think he may. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he may.
I don't think anybody knows who I am. I'm too small of a.
Oh, come the fuck on. You don't have like a 10,000 subscriber channel. I'm pretty sure like most people, you've been around for a long while. Everyone that does political commentary knows who you are.
Okay, everyone that I've interacted with outside my sphere, they initially confused me for Jeremy for the quartering.
I'm
like,
sure.
what the fuck?
You are a drama
What
channel
the
just
fuck
like
is
he is.
Oh yeah, okay.
So John says, Dev, he asked for an audit, not a recount. Yes, the audit.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, fair
Kyle
enough.
Vernon
Either way, still.
says, Dev, where's the intent? They're saying Trump was selling secrets. If Trump is found guilty, he's legally considered a spy, thus making him ineligible. Oh, that's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure about Trump selling secrets. That just seems to be like retardation. Maybe they're using a weird interpretation of the law or something, but it does seem to be the case that he retained documents illegally. That just seems to be set in stone.
They're using the version of the law that suits them best, no doubt.
Yeah, they might be like stretching a definition to like make it fit or something. Yeah.
Alamandoria says, of course, the document thing. Other people need to go to prison too, if Trump does, Joe, Hillary. Yeah, well, again, that is kind of the issue. Like, if the law is supposed to be legal and same for everybody, we should have seen a lot more convictions previously. But we know it isn't, which is why, even if he's guilty, I'm still like, Trump did nothing wrong.
This is what I mean. This is why I said that, like, the other people that kept documents after their term, when they were asked to give them back, they gave them no fuss and they just gave them back. Trump actually fought them, which is like, this seems to be just a case
I'm
of
willing
Trump's
to bet
hubris.
if he would have gave them back, they would have arrested him on the spot.
I don't
Possibly,
think so.
and I would also like to
Guaranteed
bring up a certain
citizenship.
someone else who lost a great deal of states document in a tragic Hammer v server incident.
Well, the difference is they didn't like walk into Hillary's estate and then find boxes and boxes of them in like a washroom somewhere.
That's
so
true. They
there's
didn't
a
walk into
big
Hillary's
difference. There's a big difference.
The new IKB4472 says morality, law. Morality, more important than law. Yeah, well, the idea is that law is supposed to stem from morality, but we keep legislating more and more. Oh, not only because this is one of the actual problems with democracy, we keep inventing new stuff that overrides all of the other stuff. Like, genuinely, America was vastly superior as a country ran by gentleman's agreement than by law. Like, law has its issues because we have too fucking much of it. Eventually, you'll arrive at the Germany level where everything is illegal, but what is and isn't legal is determined by what the police bother with and don't bother with.
See, I don't exactly know what he means by the statement morality over law. I mean, if you say that like you should rather follow your own morals rather than follow the law, well, I mean, sometimes maybe not. It really just depends. I don't know what he means there.
I think he's meaning that morality should be held as above law, as we should determine things based on morality over law. But that's my interpretation.
I mean,
that's why
the obvious
you
issue
have
with
like,
that.
yeah, like
Oh,
you
go
have
ahead.
a jury. No, like it's literally the system in America. Like the reason you can have jury by nullification is that if someone does commit a crime, let's say someone shoots a pedophile, right? Like the father of the victim actually happens to shoot the pedophile. Like he's guilty, right? Let's say it's on camera on national television. It happened. I think like this is an actual case. And there's like it's beyond any shadow of a doubt that he is guilty. He even confesses. If the jurors say that he is innocent, then he walks. Because like the reason you have the juror system and the jury by nullification is that in some cases the people may think that even though what you did is a crime, it's still acceptable. So, and unfortunately, the opposite is true. Like you can have a person that's completely innocent, and if the jury wants to convict them, they can. But that's like the law in America. Like that's how the entire system functions, and it actually functions as intended.
Well, yeah, that was the problem with the Andy No trial recently. Did you guys keep up with that story?
No.
So Andy No went to trial over the brain damage he received in, it was 2018 or 2019 or something. He finally went to trial, and I mean, the jury, which had actual like declared members of Antifa on the jury, just simply said that Andy was owed no damages. Yeah. It was something like that, and it's like, well, someone actually ended up threatening the jury, and the judge let it slide.
Yeah,
because it was like a local Portland judge. So
yeah. Like this is how the mafia operated. So like you would have a member of the mafia going to trial, and they would find out who the jurors are, and they would either try to bribe them or they would threaten them, and then the jury would find out that the mafia guy didn't do it, even though like the evidence was overwhelming. So. What can you do in that situation?
Shit.
And the sad part is like if it's in a place that's already Antifa infested, like Portland, you know, the mecca of left social justice, then you're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Andy is going to appeal up the chain because if you go to like the Supreme Court, maybe it's not going to be so. You know, it's easy to have things more corrupt when you're localized. In my opinion, it's much harder when it's on a national level, but. I think he's going to appeal up the chain because it was very clearly an instance of somebody directly threatening the jury and the judge just let it happen. Like it was a wild story to read. The Andy No case.
I have
Hearsay says, to my understanding, they'd have to empty out the jail as the Secret Service takes over control of security of the jail wing and empty it, but for press. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Like, if Trump were to go to jail, I imagine they would just take a section of the jail and go like, this is Trump land now.
Oh, someone in the chat said that my info's out of date. Andy just won his case. Oh, okay. Well, that's good for him.
Very good. Judo Cricket says, by US law, the Secret Service can declare any space as federal territory to protect their charges. They could have taken an entire floor in the jail. Yeah, and honestly, that is probably what they would have to do. Like, you could not have Trump amongst other prisoners. That'd be retarded. Rustazino says Secret Service has what is known as federal supremacy, which means if Trump is in jail, his Secret Service detail can pretty much take over the prison by force, kick everyone out, which means no one will be allowed near Trump. Yep. High Senti says there's at least one person in the chat who loves you, Dev. Dev has been receiving far too much support today. I don't know what to think about this.
Thank you very much.
I'm pretty sure if you look past the super chats into the actual chat, like
the actual
chat. People.
What do you mean, the second-class citizen?
All of the plebs are angry with me, but that's okay.
I am joking, chat, but it is good though. You Hayden says they will build him a special jail shack on the White House lawn. Oh, unironically, like the best thing that could possibly happen for Trump if he could run his fucking campaign from a jail cell. Like if he could somehow findangle in a computer with Twitter access in there and a camera, etc., so that he could stand in front of it in his yellow jumpsuit and do his speeches, it would do gangbusters.
I'm also curious, like, well, I think we already gone through this, but like, what if you're the president and you win the election, right? But you refuse to pardon yourself. Like, you just don't want to. Like, you say that, well, it's immoral to pardon myself or some bullshit like that.
I'll just rule from the jail.
Yeah, like, how would that work, though?
I don't know, V. Nor is it a question I'm going to dedicate over much time to fucking trying to figure out answer to's either. To Heaven say, hey Arch, on a lighter note, I wrote a book of Dog, Volpe, and Men. It's a story of spacefaring adventure, high technology, and higher hemlines. Sci-fi, military action, and plenty of waifus. Can I get a shout out? You can. Oh god, you can't send me links, can you? Because YouTube is gay with that shit. Okay. If you're still here, which I'm hoping, do try to send a... Oh, God, you can't even send links in YouTube anymore, can you?
Something I've noticed about it is like when you post it, you can't see yourself posting it,
Service
but they can
guarantees
sometimes see you
citizenship.
posting it. YouTube's fucked right now for its chat room.
It does weird stuff. I need to set up like a thing for this so I can actually be contacted. But the name of it is Of Dog Volpir and Men. Volpir with a V there. I found it on Reddit, so I can actually... There you go. We'll put it up there a little bit. We need a way to contact directly. YouTube needs like a DM feature that you can open and close or something. Charlie says, I'm late. Dev, are you ready to get proven wrong about DT?
What's
Donald
DT
Trump, I'm
again?
presuming.
Oh, Donald Trump? Oh, okay. Yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
I don't know about that. Car Forever says, Dev is always wrong and Hans is Danish. Well, shit. I mean, I guess that means that Dev is always right, because that's clearly Canadian. Listen, I like Canadians better than Danish people, okay? It's normal. The Danes are far too close, and they're occupying far too much Norwegian land. Hereditary Norwegian land. And Glow the Dark says, I disagree with you on the Hillary, Dev, because if she wasn't Hillary, she would have been charged with destroying evidence and government documents, which is like a 3-year sentence for each infringement, plus she couldn't hold public office. Yeah, I don't think anyone really disputes that Hillary skated on that.
Mm-hmm.
Service guarantees citizenship.
Scarfy the Strange says, so more That's a good point, Scarfy. Scarfy the Strange says, so more people will give at least 2 seconds to Trump interview than 2 seconds to the Republican debates. That's true. It's a very good comeback. Congratulations. Shake Silver says, indictments will tarnish his image with the center. That's the point. Damage him because they have no way of stopping the rematch, not justice. I mean, yeah, shit flinging, it is a part of American politics. It seems to just be how it be. The Highland Juggalo says that what's off-putting about Pence is that he looks like generic 2000s video game president model. So plain he induces the uncanny valley effect. Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of liked Pence too when he was pretending to be based, and then the Democrats went over to him and went like, okay, we could put you in jail for 20 years, or we could mysteriously drop all of the charges if you agree to run in the presidential primaries. Who knows why? It will forever remain a mystery. Blodak says, I like Vivek, but he did that voting age should be 25 thing earlier in the year and then changed his mind. Yeah, no, I think I support that. Voting age at 18 is too fucking low. 20, at least. I can be bargained, yeah, down to 20, but 20 at least.
I have lost shit.
Right, let's do the second topic before we move on with any further ones, just so we can at least get 2 of them out of the way, and this will be a short one. So, both of you have probably seen that entertainment has gotten interesting, as well. Weird, even. Like, many characters seem to have mysteriously changed skin tones or gender for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
Generally, if they're redheads, yeah.
Yes, but today we have a change to the usually established formula of redheads get it first. I'll post it in the streaming channel.
Hey, I promise you guys, redheads definitely can get it first.
Wow, racist, maybe. I don't know.
Wait, you don't get the joke? I want to fuck redheaded girls, Arch.
I know!
That's the joke. That's the joke.
That's why I call you racist, because there's not a lot of black people with that red hair. But here we have Robin Hood. This is a remake of Robin Hood with black girls in the modern day world robbing police officers.
Wow.
I mean,
it's Canadian too.
It's Canadian too, yes.
Well, it's made by Global TV. Global TV is known in Canada as being like a second tier network. Like it's what you watch when the main networks don't have anything playing. Even among Canadian networks, it's a second tier network. So I have negative faith this will even approach being good, because Global TV is known for just like I can't name anything that Global TV's actually made that I can't name anything. I don't good or bad. I can't name anything. I don't even know. Like Global TV is just one of those like space filler networks.
Well, at least in this case, they are aiming very hard for the progressive audience, as we have seen the main actors. Two of them are white. I'll let you try and guess who the bad guys in this show might be.
The
Is
evil
it
guy.
Whitey?
It's Whitey, yes.
You know, like they actually released the script for Powerpuff Girls, which was very telling. Every single character in the Powerpuff Girls was written in the script as any race, right? So like you could have had Black Blossom, you could have had an Asian Blossom, like it doesn't matter, right? The only character which had a fixed race was the villain Mojo Jojo. He had to be a straight white man.
He was
There
a
you
monkey,
go.
though.
Yeah.
He was a monkey in Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, and
No,
would you
they
like to
wanted
cast a
the-
black man as a monkey, Dev? Would that be a wise choice?
No. They wanted to make a TV show of the Powerpuff Girls where it was with real people, right? So not.
Mhm. I saw
right.
the screenshots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Service
And
guarantees
basically, what
citizenship.
the story was about is that those girls in the TV show, like when they were kids, they had to pretend that they're playing cartoon characters in order to, kind of like the boys, you know, like they're superheroes, but they're playing in movies and shit.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
like that's the vibe they wanted to go with the Powerpuff Girls, and it's like they were actually oppressed by Professor Utonium, and I think like
Oh,
Blossom murdered Mojo Jojo. It was like a grim shit. But basically, like the only character that had to be white was Mojo Jojo's son.
Oh, that's so stupid. That's so dumb.
It looked really bad too. Like the
did,
costumes
yeah.
looked terrible. The entire thing looked awful. I'm surprised they didn't finish it because it looks like exactly the kind of shit Hollywood loves.
Well, I mean, recently there was the Ninja Turtles thing with April being changed from a redheaded white girl to a black girl. Like this is just how it is now, I guess.
This is just how it is.
And
now.
they can't even make them. They can't even make them hot black girls. They're always like ugly ones. Like
Yes.
why they gotta be frumpy? There's a
My
lot of hot
wife
black
actually-
chicks out there,
Yeah,
man.
like my wife pointed this out, and I had a guy from Africa pointing this out as well. So like my subscriber, which is a black guy from Africa, was saying that when they used to look at Hollywood and the black people they casted was like, holy shit, like black Americans are much sexier and handsome than we are. And now when they look at Netflix, they say like even the average girl that I see when I walk across the street is 10 times more beautiful than anything Netflix casts. But my wife was watching Wheel of Time, which I've never seen, but like I heard it's awful. So anyway, like my wife points out that why is it that the women are like really average or below average looking, and they have like these really handsome chads, 10 out of 10 husbandos next to them. And my wife doesn't know anything about politics, right? Like she doesn't even know what a Democrat or a Republican is. But basically, I asked her like, "Why are you upset about this?" And she's like, "Well, it's immersion breaking. Like this would never happen in reality." And it's like, "So like, are you willing to believe magic and not this?" And she's like, "I am more likely to believe that magic is real than to believe that a 10 out of 10 husbando is going around with this chick." Like that was like more immersion breaking to her. That the fact that they have magic in the universe. It's kind of like He-Man with Tila, right? Like Tila is this awful character, not just by looks. Like there are people who photoshopped her without makeup, and she looks identical to a man. But it's also her character. Like she is rotten to the core. She's got like nothing going
Heresy's
for her.
the
Everything
question.
is just
Fire
awful
is the
about
answer.
her. And yet, the Prince of Edinia loves her. And I just like no one understands why. Like, well, why does he like her? There's no explanation.
I
Because?
searched this up, Arch. I wanted to, since this is now I didn't know this was a Canadian-made show. I wanted to see what Canadian media was saying about it. So, pull this up.
Well, I imagine
Just-
they've got,
just-
many
Here,
good things to say.
read this headline. I think you might like it.
Let's see. Oh god, that thing too. Okay, I've got something to add context to this. and we'll bring that up, because the original announcement said, Robin is a fearless young woman who is not just another superhero with abilities normal people don't have. She's a Gen Zer driven by the injustices of today.
Oh, God.
Yep. She is Robin Loxley with an X, a young woman whose masked hip-hop band The Hood is known for their inventive videos and anti-authoritarian messages.
Like, what if she steals from the cops and then Justin Trudeau locks her bank account? What then? Checkmate. I mean,
Well,
I
that's
wonder
the question.
where this is being taken. Where
not
this
to
actually takes
mention,
place.
like, here's another thing: are cops literally that rich in order to be able to steal from them?
Well,
No, they're like middle class. They make like middle class wages.
the cops are the evil people. They're protecting the evil
No, I get it, but, like,
business
evil people
magent who's
can-
Prince John.
Yes, but like evil people can be poor too, Arch.
No.
No, like not all evil people are rich, Arch. Like
As it
there are
turns out, that's
poor
actually
people.
impossible.
Yeah, see, even if they are criminals, it's because of their material conditions, V. It's not actually.
Yeah.
It's not.
Dumb V.
It's-
And hey, the sheriff of Nottingham is one of the bad characters. She's white. Because the sheriff is now she, obviously. Duh.
Yeah. Well, she could be like a lesbian.
She
She has,
probably
she has
is.
the look.
And this was the one Dev found. How Director X built his merry band for Robin Hood. Director X, excuse me, sir?
Yes. Have you heard of Director X, Arch?
No, but I already don't like him.
So he's one of Canada's own. He's homegrown Canadian talent. He is a black Canadian who is born in Toronto and has lived his entire life in Toronto. For those of you who don't know about Canadian geography, Toronto is 50% New York and 50% LA, and it's the bad parts of both.
Service
Toronto's a
guaranteed
shithole.
citizenship.
All right. Canada has some really nice cities. Ottawa's really nice. Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, Halifax. These are all considered like some of the best cities to live on Earth. Toronto is actually just a crater full of immigrants and used needles. That's all Toronto is. Okay. So you have a guy, homegrown Canadian talent named Director X. He has a Wikipedia page. You can go. He's
Wait,
been
so is it like
making
California,
social
yeah?
just. Sorry,
Which
what?
is worse? Like if I go from California to Toronto,
Yeah.
do I find a downgrade or an upgrade?
It'll be the same, just with snow.
So it's a downgrade then,
Yeah, I guess.
and less homeless people.
Probably more, to be honest.
Why are they? See, I always heard like California has homeless people because it's warm.
Oh, yeah, maybe they all freeze. I haven't thought about that.
No. Like if you're a homeless person and you can travel everywhere, right? Like you would rather be in a warm state. So like people from other states allegedly go to California just because it's a lot warmer there.
Well, also in Canada, there's no place that's warm. There's always a winter, so
There
you
you go.
just are where you are. But yeah, so Director X, he's kind of known here as being like a very left-leaning director. He's made a lot of woke shit in the past, so I'm not surprised that his name is on this. But yeah, he's like insufferable, basically.
I can
Director
see
X.
that. I found this part in an article you sent me. Director X says the show wasn't written with any race in mind. Instead, they simply cast who felt right for the role. Well, that sounds good, Dev. Maybe Dev is making things up. And then he went on to say, it's an all-black show. But it's
Now,
not
maybe
about
it
being
felt-
black.
Maybe it just happened, you know.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Maybe it felt right because Director X is black himself,
Yeah.
and he's been a black activist his entire fucking life.
Maybe, okay, just riddle me this. Maybe the racist thought, yeah, it feels really good to be surrounded by people of my own race.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Service guaranteed
Because it's not about race, you see. It's rich versus poor, and all the good poor people happen to be black, and all the evil people happen to be white. It just happens. What can I say?
Yep, it just happens to be that way.
It's
I
mysterious.
have lost shit.
That's truly weird. But the thing is, okay, I think this is going to be the end of a lot of this, though. I think this is going to be one of the last woke shows. Now, one of the last truly woke shows, anyways. Because this is like woke to the extreme. This is Black Robin Hood. This is every single bullshit stereotype. It's taking a beloved Western thing, it is race swapping it, it is gender swapping it, it is turning every character on its head, and only the ones that remain are the evil white people.
Didn't they have like Dear White People, the TV show, Arch?
They did.
Yep, they did. I remember
But
seeing that
with
the TV show.
With even Ahsoka now and everything coming out, it is very clear that Hollywood is just losing steam with the woke shit. It isn't selling, and they know it isn't selling, and they're trying to find some way to make it sell, but they just can't. Like Dave Filoni, the savior of Star Wars, for example, is currently getting dragged across social media because he stabbed one of the rebel character people tips in the stomach with a lightsaber. And he didn't do it anything. Because he doesn't write a Star Wars show. He writes whatever. In this case, it's like a murder mystery kind of nonsense. We're like, oh, somebody's out there. We gotta find where he is.
Listen, that's established now, though, Art. That's established in the lore now, Arch, because Reva survived a stab to the stomach by Darth Vader. So now, it's just how it is. That's the new lore.
Oh, and the guy Reva stabbed in the stomach, so I had to stab too.
Yeah, but it's like, there are people who survive the bullet to the head, but that doesn't mean that, like, okay, anyway.
Well, more people have survived being stabbed in the stomach by a lightsaber than those who have died of it.
Do you know that the thing that I love about Dear White People the most is that it's such a fucking flag because white people don't talk like this. Like, if I go on my channel and I start every single video, Dear White People, I would be flagged for being a white supremacist. Like, I would have my channel kicked off of YouTube. Who the fuck says Dear White? And by the way, there was another chica on Twitter, Dear White Gamers. And she was talking about the racismus in Baldur's Gate. Apparently, like, I don't know if you know the controversy, Arch, but there was a black chica, like she does Twitch, and she was basically using her credentials. You know, like some people say, my name is such and such PhD. Like she was, my name is such and such black person, BIPOC. And then she says that she played the Tiefling and she didn't like the fact that the druids were mean to her, right? She experienced racismus in a video game and she brought her morality from the real world into the video game. And she wanted people to do better, Arch. She wanted them to do better. She felt uncomfortable playing. She felt exhausted. My advice to her was to go to sleep if you're exhausted. Go to sleep, then wake up, drink a coffee, a Red Bull, and come back more energized, right? But apparently, what I find interesting, you have a video game where people murder each other, like you got swords and shit.
Yeah, but it's fantasy violence.
It's a racismo.
Yeah, it's fantasy violence. Yeah, that's what fantasy violence is. That doesn't matter. Racism is far more dangerous, V. You should know this by now.
And then she compared black people with tieflings. Now what's interesting, like, because like she was like, they were killing the child from my race for no reason. She was talking about the tiefling thing in Baldur's Gate, like in the druid.
Yeah,
right?
There was
like,
no very reason she was a thief.
Yeah, like the thing is that kid. So here's the story for those of you who don't know, right? There's a couple of refugees that are running from a goblin horde, and they find sanctuary in a druid cove, right? So the druids allowed them to come in. The druids didn't have to do this; like they're not responsible for their shit or anything. The druids allowed the immigrants in, and the druids noticed that the resources, their supplies, are dwindling, and on top of that, now the goblins are attacking them. So the druids are like, "Oh, are you going to leave? Like, can you fuck off? Because like we don't want this shit. You know, you brought this shit upon us. Like, so they try to make like some ritual in order to isolate themselves. Like they want to build a wall, basically, right? And one of the kids steals an ancient druid artifact so that they can't build the wall, right? So now the druids are like, well, we're going to punish this kid. Like we let them in. We allowed them to take from our supplies and do, you know, everything they wanted, and they brought this goblin army on us. Like, fuck these people. I can sympathize with the druids, right? But like, you can also sympathize with the tieflings because you can say, well, it's just a kid, didn't know any better, right? But like, to simply claim that the kid did nothing and the druids are just evil. Fuck off with that shit. Like, you clearly aren't playing the same video game that I'm playing. You have no interest in understanding what's going on in the story if that's your understanding of events.
Well, it's because they have a point to push. It's the same with Auntie Ethel being a anti-Semitic stereotype. Because you probably remember this. The Dear White People show you mentioned, right? It had a big poster saying, bet you think this show is about you.
I have lost. Shit.
As if to go like, oh, no, we're not whinging about white people. This is totally about something else. And then the entire show is about whinging about white people.
Imagine if you make a show, Dear Jewish People.
Yeah.
And you then make a poster saying this is not about anti-Semitism.
Yeah, we're not attacking you white people. We're just complaining about you.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
I mean, yeah, just... You know, what I find interesting is that if racism is socially acceptable and you can do it, doesn't mean you need to, you know?
Well, if racism is socially acceptable, which it is in a certain direction, then don't you have a responsibility to make sure that those evil white people know where they're standing? After all, it is hard being a, what was it? What was the tagline? Being a black face in a white space. That was the other tagline they had for that show.
Do you know that Hassan Piker made a video recently pointing out that you shouldn't like, what is that space game? The one that Bethesda is made, Star Citizen or whatever the fuck.
Starfield?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't like it because it's made by white people.
Well, that's a fine argument, but I'm not sure I agree.
Yeah, and I'm like thinking, like, dude,
okay.
Since
No,
when
I've
do
got
you
a better
care about
argument.
the skin color of the people that make a video game?
I have
Like,
a much
most of
better
the
argument.
time-
I have lost.
You
Go on.
shouldn't like Starfield because the people who made Starfield are ugly. There you go. Because they are. They are, V. You've said this yourself. You remember they did a thing where they showed off their face scanning technology? All of the ugly people you see in-game, they're the Bethesda employees. That's why we shouldn't like it.
To be honest, Todd Howard isn't the sexiest man in the room.
It's a very controversial statement, V.
Would you say that? I mean, like,
No.
do you find Todd Howard attractive? Like, when you look at him?
I don't know.
Well, I
Let's
mean,
turn
he's a
to our
meme
gay
for a
person.
reason, right?
Yeah.
Does it stir your loins?
Ha
up?
ha ha ha. So, first of all, hold on. Is this the transition to the third topic? Starfield?
Yes, we should probably get that on the way too. Okay, let's wait. No, let me get through a few more of the super chat just in case there was anything mentioning this, and then we'll.
Also, Todd Howard's a pretty attractive guy. That's why he's a meme. He's the face of the company.
There you go, V.
Oh my!
Dev would have
fucking
sex with
God.
Todd Howard.
I wouldn't go
think
that
Dev has
far.
sex with anything that has a pulse at this point.
Oh,
Listen,
God, Dev.
listen. All right.
Dev, can you
Todd
have some
Howard-
standards, please? Like, you're disgusting
Todd-
if you don't have standards.
I do have standards. Okay,
No, you
listen.
like, okay.
Listen,
you know what?
listen.
Tell
Hold on.
me a
Everyone-
person you wouldn't fuck, Dev. No, just show me a person you wouldn't fuck. Let's do it the other way around.
Oh, Todd Howard.
You wouldn't fuck him,
No.
but you just said he's attractive.
Yes, but I still wouldn't fuck him
So why wouldn't you fuck an attractive person, Dev?
because I'm not attracted to him.
I don't know, Dev.
Then
I
he's
think
not
you-
an
Listen, hold on.
attractive
You can
person.
identify-
You've wanted
no,
yourself
wait.
into a corner here.
No, I don't.
You can identify an attractive man and still not be attracted to him. Like, that's just understanding taste.
No, it doesn't work that way, Dev. If you find
Yes, it
someone
does.
attractive, if you find someone attractive, then he's an attractive person, and you would want to fuck.
Because hold on. So V, if I were to Kate, you're completely straight, right? Like 100%.
Are you straight though, Dev?
No, I'm not. But are you?
Well, there we go. Right? Like,
Well, hold on,
you
hold
have
on,
the
hold on.
fucking excuse.
Well, just wait. So V, are you completely straight?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So if I
I'm like
okay.
Tywin Lannister, not even.
Okay. Yep, got it. Not even. Okay. So if I were to show you a picture
Service
of
guaranteed
Todd
citizenship.
Howard, and then put that beside a picture of Chris Chan, you couldn't tell me which one of them is more or less attractive?
Yeah, but did it occur to you, Dev, that I may say that neither of them are attractive? Like, I
Oh, no,
don't have to.
No, I get it. You don't find either of them attractive. That's fine.
Yes.
But which one of them is more attractive though? who is the better looking person? You can
Well,
still
yeah, if
identify
you-
these
if you
things without
put-
being
if you
attracted to them
put,
yourself,
like,
you know?
No, I can see where you're going. Like, if you put a lady that's 300 kilograms next to one that's 350, and you're asking me, like, which one is thinner, like, I will say that the one with 300 kilograms is thinner, but, like, that doesn't make her thin, you know? Like, it's just
No, I get it.
fat.
Yeah. I completely get it. But here's the thing. What I'm saying is you can obviously determine
I have lost
a person's attractiveness without being attracted to them personally. You can say, oh, well, that guy, like, he's in shape and he wears nice clothes and, like, he's not a fucking wreck. Like, you can figure these things out, you know, without, like, your dick getting hard, obviously.
I have lost. Shit.
Dad,
Yeah.
if you find Todd Howard attractive, why don't you want to fuck him? I mean, it's a simple question. And you know, like, the difference
I don't
is,
find him attractive.
It's a
That's the
simple
point.
question,
but
but
if
with
you
a
don't find him
complicated
attractive,
answer.
then why do you gaslight the chat saying that Todd Howard is attractive just to contradict me? Like, you're just being contrarian. I will tell you something else. I can say that a man is attractive and I want to fuck him because I'm straight. You just said
Yep.
you're not straight, right? If
Yeah.
I say I find a woman attractive, if I wasn't married, yeah, sure, I would want to fuck her because she's attractive, Dev. It's not rocket science.
So here's the thing, all right? My bisexuality only extends to girls with dicks. I'm not interested in guys
why
with
didn't you
dicks.
say so? Okay, so if Todd Howard was transitioning, then you would want to fuck her.
Well, does she pass? If so, then yeah, probably. Like
So Todd
I'll
Howard needs
hold
to
on.
pass in order to.
Listen, I'll fuck Blair White.
So you're like Gandalf
But I won't fuck
sitting
Christian.
on the bridge. Yeah, you're like Gandalf sitting on the bridge, and you're like, you shall not pass. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah.
Do you give the middle finger instead of having a staff? It's like you did not pass.
So here's the rule. Here's the rule.
Service
Okay.
guarantees
If you're like
citizenship.
if you're a trans woman and you're hot, then you count. But if you're ugly, then no, you're just a guy. That's the rule.
Make these rules, Dev.
Me.
Ah, I see.
Fair
And
enough.
that yeah.
The Hillian Juggalo says, Dev, the only people outside of Trump in the GOP are the majesus, me all video games bad people. You and I grew up hating. If you want GOP reform, none of them are it. Tea or bust. Anything else goes back to Bush. I kind of tend
See,
to agree.
I kind of agree too, but you know what? If we reverted to like the Democrats being, let's say, less terrible than they are now, and the GOP just going back to
guaranteed
neoconism, I actually wouldn't mind that. It'd be like a nice breath of fresh air compared to what we've had since 2016. I'd take that. Then I could be like an unapologetic Democrat voter if I were an American. You know, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, because like in the 90s, to me, the Democrats were just the good guys. Simple as that.
I mean, it's just kind of difficult to argue against that because, like, if you look at the Bush era, like the Republicans were pro-war, they were pro-censorship, they're trying to push intelligent design in schools, they were going against video games. I'm actually a simple man, you know. Like, if you go against video games, I despise you. Like,
Heresy is the question.
Yeah.
no,
Fire is
seriously,
the
like
answer.
any
Same,
person
same.
that goes, yeah, like the moment you try to censor video games in any way, shape, or form, I have nothing but disdain for you. I'm pretty sure it's probably mutual, right? Like a person that wants to censor video games doesn't like the fact that I don't want them censored. But it is what it is. Like that's the litmus test that I have. Because video games don't hurt anyone, right? Like they're completely fictional. They offer entertainment. I think people need entertainment in their lives. And I think the market should decide. Like if a video game is that horrible and that atrocious, then surely no one will buy it.
I mean, before it was the right that was censoring video games, and now it's the left. So makes it obvious, right? If the pendulum like swung back around, and we just had like neocons versus business Dems again, I would just go back to supporting the Democratic Party and not feeling bad about it. It's like, yep, okay, these are the good guys.
I don't know. It's like who's censoring the video games, and I'll support the other party just out of spite. Like I literally don't care. Like what other policies they have. I'm a one-issue voter. Like they can take away the guns, they can do everything. Like a lot of people are angry about this, and my answer is like, if you're angry about this, make sure that your party doesn't censor the fucking video games, and then I'll vote for them. Simple as. It's not rocket science. Very simple. Like they can lock me in the home, they can make me eat the books and put me in the books. Like as long as I have my video games, I can cope. The only thing that I have, literally.
We will eat the books.
Well, it's the books. If I can play video games without them censoring it, then it's fine.
MW Ball says, if the Dems win, I expect a lot of people in certain states to start whispering about secession. I don't think so.
How's it any different than now?
No.
Yeah,
they've been doing that for 50 years.
I don't think so. I don't. The whole U.S. Civil War thing. I don't think a civil war is possible in a democracy unless it really goes down the drain. Like, it's going to have to be external factors like food prices skyrocketing, or well, the currency
Way
being
more than
worth
that.
actually nothing.
No, but
Shit's going to
I'll
have to
tell
get
you-
a lot worse.
I have
I'll tell you why it won't happen, right? So, first of all, the reason, like, I know that Tim Pool, Civil War. Motherfucker, if someone doesn't like it, they can leave, right? So, like, if you have a person living in a blue state, you live in Portland, and you don't like it, you can go from Portland to Florida. There's nothing stopping you, right? And people take the path of least resistance. What is more difficult? To go out and protest and get your ass beaten and get arrested by the cops, or to just move to Florida, right? So, like, as long as people have the opportunity to move from a state to another, they will. Unfortunately, they bring their voting policies with them. So, like, they're making red states purple. But even like, if they were to make the entire US blue, then people from US could just go to Europe. They can go to Poland. They can go to Romania, Bulgaria. Like, there's Eastern European countries that would have them. So, no, like, there's not going to be a war. Like, it's ridiculous. You don't have, like, you don't have governors asking for secession. Like, a civil war means that you'd have governors on your side, you'd have generals and people with military and shit. You don't have any of that, so no, it's not going to happen.
The last thing, too, is, of course, that the previous Civil War, the Second American Civil War, it kind of decided the whole legal question as to whether or not states have the legal power to secede. They don't, because the federal government will shoot you. SP Elite says, Dev is always right about everything, left-wing intention internationally, but is wrong about American, right? 80-20. Mike Haley comment on Israel was funny. Dev is right about Israel.
Didn't the American Civil War started, like, with hostilities and shit? Like, what if a state would just want to secede, but it has, like, nuclear weapons? So, like, let's say Texas, right? Like, I think it has, like, several nuclear... like, if Texas would secede, it would be, like, the third nation in the world with nukes, right?
Something's gonna have to really start going crazy for Texas to be like, we're gonna nuke
No,
you.
but I hypothetically, right? Like,
So here's how it works. So
would they attack Texas knowing that they have nukes?
well, the
'Cause
locations where the nukes are, that's federal property, right? And they will have
Right.
there'll be federal troops there loyal to the federal government on that property, not Texas troops. So they'll if Texas were to actually leave the union, there would immediately be some sort of internal conflict where the federal troops stationed in Texas would have to be dealt with somehow. And so it immediately kicks off no matter what.
Yeah, but let's assume that that's not the case, right? Let's assume that the federal troops just surrender and, you know, the bases belongs to Texas. What then? Like, you're not able to right? Like, you're not able to go and attack them. So I guess, like, they secede, right? Because, like, it's mutual assured destruction.
I mean, maybe. But that,
I guess, like, they may try
to.
to blockade them, right? So that they don't do commerce.
Well, the thing is like a lot of Texans are very loyal to Texas, right? But when it comes to like federal troops, they're not necessarily from Texas. They come in from other places, right? So it's not, like you're not going to find a lot of Texas loyalty.
Yeah, but if you're an enclave in a now foreign state, I guess, you know, hostile state or whatever, like what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to defeat the Texas National Guard, you know.
3vil Boss says, Demon X Machina, Armored Core at 20 FPS, baby.
But Arch, I
haven't
was
played Demon X
expecting
Machina.
you to. I was expecting
No,
you to come
because
in.
there is no topic here. Like, everyone says, oh,
No, but, like,
we'll fight the
hypothetically-
government. No, you won't fight the government. You will not fight the army. You will not fight the military. There will be none of
No,
this.
but, like,
and when the federal
yes.
government comes for your guns, you will hand them over and say, thank you, officer.
No, I agree with that, but, like, hypothetically, like, if a state that has nukes would succeed, like, what would happen then?
Well, then Dev is correct, and the federal officers in the nuke silos will go, well, we're going to have to nuke the capital. So John says, climate change scientists have been wrong for 60 years. All of their predictions are wrong. People not using gas stoves and cars will do shit. Well, cars, I don't see. Okay, the car argument I can see. Because the issue is, those damn dirty Indians, sorry YouTube, they want cars too. And we can't really tell them that they can't have them. Like, it would be the top of hypocrisy for us over here, where everyone owns like 3 fucking cars, to go like, now India, you can't have cars. But why? Because there's too many of you. But yeah, and yet that is the reason.
I know the super chat said like every single prediction was wrong. That's not true. Like
Most.
there's been some that have been correct. There've been some that have been terrible though. Like, right? Here's the thing: we're obviously climate change is real, and I'm not just saying that for YouTube's sake.
Obviously.
It's like it's obvious. Yes, it's obviously real.
Right. If we were like 10 years in the past, it would have been global warming. I know. Yes.
Okay, whatever. I don't fucking care what you call it. The point is that yes, obviously spitting out carbon into the atmosphere is changing certain things about Earth's weather patterns. That's just true. If you don't believe that, you're a retard. Now,
Absolutely.
is it apocalyptic? No. It is not apocalyptic. Are we going to be dead in 5 years because of it? No, absolutely not. Is it a problem that we can't solve? Of course we can. And we won't solve it with fucking implementing socialism or some bullshit like that. We won't solve it with degrowth bullshit politics, all this nonsense. Like taking away everyone's stoves or taking away everyone's cars or like, going back to agrarian life. That'll make it worse because now we're all burning wood, and wood is way worse to burn than coal is.
They banned it in the EU. You can't burn wood.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, because this is what we always do, all right? We will invent new technology, and the new technology will solve the problems of the future, and we'll be fine, because that is how humans have been with crises for the last fucking 80 billion thousand years, all right?
I think what we need is a war. Like usually during wartime, the inventions appear.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. Like,
all right.
Well, ask Arch. Like during World War II, some of the most modern inventions came out. I mean, like the mustard gas, right, which happened in World War I. Like that is what we use in order to as fertilizer, right? Like that was like the primordial fertilizer, which ended world hunger. So.
Yep. Nope. If we're facing any problems, we'll figure out ways to solve them. I don't believe in this fucking climate doomerism for a second.
Well,
there's also,
I'm
of course,
glad
the
to say
fact
this
that
now, but like in a couple of years, I'm pretty sure it's going to be illegal to say you don't believe it on YouTube.
Probably. But one of the problems, too, is the Earth has overall been far warmer than it is now. Like, our planet right now is actually rather cold in comparison to historically. And that is why I do believe that the historical change argument is more persuasive than the carbon argument. Simply because if it's all like, oh, industry, why the fuck was the temperature like 3 times as high on average previously? Like and why the hell are we just now getting out of an ice age a few hundred, or not 100 years ago? A couple thousand years ago, was it? 15,000 years ago? 20,000 years ago. That was it, yeah. I looked it up now. Because we don't know how warm the Earth is supposed to be naturally. Really. Not with us on it. Not to this extent. That's one of the problems.
I have lost.
Like the 1 degree. Like, oh, if 1 degree, everyone will die. No. Everyone will not die at 1 degree. Everyone will not die at 2 degrees. Everyone will not die at 3 degrees. And whether or not our industry is having some sort of massive effect on this, honestly, I don't think we've been around long enough to determine it.
I think that that argument is that the electromagnetic thingy of the Earth is going the Earth is going to shift orbit because like the ice cap's melting, like debalances the planet and it makes it go off orbit. I think like that's the doomsday scenario they talk about. But you know what I don't understand is like you keep having like all these wildfires every summer, right? Like, do they not happen in Africa?
Well, no, that nonsense is just bullshit. we are having record rains. We had a record cold summer this year in Norway, and nobody talks about it. And then you come to the summer, and it's like, oh, it's kind of warm outside. It must be global warming. It's just the fucking.
No, but they
talking
keep
points.
going. It's like, oh, there's another forest fire and another forest fire, and I'm like, okay, like, but like, if you're saying that it's so hot that like the forest just keeps catching fire more than usual, how are the people in like actual hot continents dealing with it? Like in Africa, right? Like,
Well, they're
Well,
just on
there's-
fire. V.
in the Middle
Service
East.
guarantees citizenship.
Yeah.
Well,
They're just on
there's
fire.
like a bunch of different reasons for this. I think like camping is more of a pastime in North America, and camping is where a lot of forest fires start. Like
Yeah, but they
idiots
say
leaving
global
their fires
warming.
going.
Like this is the thing that I noticed, right? If you say that oh well it's really cold now, they will say, well yeah, but you can't say that because the climate and the temperature are two different things, right? But every single time there's a forest fire, they say it's global warming.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like I said,
But, like-
it's always global warming when it goes
Yeah.
their way, and it's never global
See-
warming when it goes the other way.
Yeah.
They're like when they say it's global warming for a fire, like they don't say it, but the implication kind of underneath it is that forests are just like spontaneously combusting out of nowhere, right? Which obviously
Yeah,
is
but like if I see like a desert which now has snow, and I point out to that, they will say, well no, like that doesn't debunk global warming because it's like it's just one temperature and blah blah blah. But when
Well,
you see like a forest catching
It's
fire,
the
and by the way,
BBC weather map. That's what it is. You've all
Yes.
seen that one.
They just make it red for no reason, even though it's the same numbers. Yeah, I've seen that
Yes.
bullshit. That's nonsense.
and not to mention, like, forests have caught fire since I was born. Like it's not an unusual phenomenon. So why would you be able to say with certainty that every single forest fire is caused by global warming, or at least imply it?
Well, yeah, because they're obviously ideologically captured, right? The
Yeah,
actual
and
truth
if I
is
say
that,
like no,
so-
and here's another
Okay,
thing.
yeah, go
if I
ahead.
say, well, this forest fire may have been man-made, right? Because like there's a lot of cases like that. There have been drones that caught people setting fire to the forest, and some of them were even environmentalists. And
hold
if
on
you
a minute.
say
Hold on a
that,
minute. Wait, you know what those are, right? Those are like controlled burn drones. They're supposed to be doing that.
No. Like people with Molotov cocktails within the forest caught by a surveillance drone doing that. Like there
Oh,
have
okay.
been certain cases. But my point is, if you say that this forest fire is
Service
man-made, even
guarantees
though like in the
citizenship.
past there has been evidence of people doing that, it's like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, you can't prove it, blah 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 blah, misinformation. But they can say that a forest fire is
Heresy's the question.
global warming.
Fire is the answer.
And they will go with that story. And if later on it turns out that someone did set fire to it, whether accidentally or on purpose, they don't retract the fact that they went with the story that it's caused by global warming for months on end.
So the logic is going to be something like, okay, let's say that you have a camper and he leaves his fire and the fire like catches,
Yeah.
it catches a tree. And it's like, oh, it was an accident, right? Their logic will be that because of the climate, the fire spread faster than it should have, and it's harder to put out
Fuck off.
than it should have.
Oh,
That's
fuck
going to
off.
be their logic. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily buy it, but that's what they'll say if you ask them.
Yeah, fuck off. It's like at this point, it's just
However, like, I mean, I decided to quickly look it up. There are forest fires that happen in Africa. We just don't hear about them because we're not in Africa, you know?
yeah, but like it should be burning
we don't
nonstop. shouldn't
care.
it?
I mean, we're not
But-
in
but, like,
Greece
even-
either.
Yeah, so no, like the whole thing, it's like, oh well, it's in Africa, no one cares. Like people care about the region. I don't think people from Africa give a shit about the forest fires in Canada either. But
Yeah.
but like the thing is, when I grew up, this is like 30 years ago, there were like talks about being careful when you go camping so you don't set fire to the forest. Like this idea that, oh well, it's global warming that is setting fire now. It's like, but it's always been like forest fires always existed. It's not like a new phenomenon. There's even animals that are adapted to survive forest fires. Like for example, rabbits, they dig holes underground, and for some fucking reason they don't get cooked to death. I mean, maybe some do, but like others manage to survive it.
I was fucking.
No, like
right.
it's because evolution taught these animals how to survive in such an event, which means that these events happen so often, well, at least often enough, to the point where the animals had to adapt in order to survive them.
Listen, I was right.
That's a lot of forest fires
Look
in
at that
Africa.
fucking map. I fucking told you. The reason why we don't hear about forest fires in Africa is because it's always on fire. That's why.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also there's also the fact that when forest fires do happen now, due to conservation efforts, they're worse fires than they used to be, right? Because before you have like lightning strikes and the forest catches fire and it burns off like some dead wood or some undergrowth, and that happens regularly. But now we have conservation efforts, right? And the conservation efforts prevents the forest fire, so all the dead wood and the dead leaves, and it all builds up on the forest floor. And then when finally a fire does happen, it's a fucking inferno. So
there were like some dumb regulations because like before people would use controlled burns, right? Not only that, but they would like chop down trees in an area, and I think like they banned it. And there was a guy, like I remember, I think it may have been in Norway or in a European country, but he basically disregarded the law, and he chopped down all the wood around his property. Did a controlled burn, I think. Not chop it down. He got fined for it, but next year there was a fire. Everyone around him died, like literally died in their homes. He didn't.
Yep.
Right? So it goes to show that like a lot of these things are also due to legislation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So there's controlled burns, or like just natural forest fires, if you just let them kind of naturally do their thing. Mm-hmm. They tend to add a bunch of carbon back into the soil, which is pretty necessary. Mm-hmm. However, if you let all the dead leaves and stuff build up and build up and build up, and then you burn and then the forest actually catches fire and burns, it destroys everything. So the soil becomes like unusable. So you actually have like problems with regrowing after a really hot forest fire because it burns too hot. So like basically, in order to like preserve the forests and prevent these forest fires, once they do prevent them, but once the fires do inevitably happen, they are worse than they need to be. And that's a big problem with conservation efforts.
So says the eco-terrorist dev.
Eco-fascist.
What do you say about the following quote? You are the carbon they want to remove.
I know.
I've heard that before.
You did hear it then.
Because it's true. Speaking of carbon to be removed, though. All right. Final topic of the day before we run out of time because you do little waffles.
Yep, I got to go in 40 minutes, unfortunately.
Same. Exactly. Starfield leaked, and the person who leaked it has now been arrested. He is the carbon that is now out of our system.
I bet it's a shit game. Like, if it was good and it got leaked, then they wouldn't care.
Well, they probably would care in this case, because he made away with like several boxes of copies and was selling them online.
He got them out of the warehouse.
Usually what I noticed is that AAA companies, like if the game is really, really good, like amazing game, and it gets leaked, they don't really care that much. I mean, yeah, sure, they'll pay some lip service, but they're not really that upset. But when the game is absolute shite, like for example, The Last of Us 2, right? Like it was absolute shite and it got leaked, and they even copyright striked their own Twitter account.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's funny, actually.
And it
here's the thing. I don't agree with you, V. I don't agree with you because Bethesda is pretty well known for like battening down the hatches and this sort of thing. They've done it consistently. They did it with Skyrim. They did it with Fallout.
But they're also pretty well known for making shit games on release date. Like when the game is on release date, so the last game they made, which was utter shite, and you're just as good as your last game was that Fallout game with no NPCs.
76.
Like the
76.
multiplayer bullshit.
76.
Yeah. That was crap. I would even argue that Fallout 4 was really bad on release date.
I enjoyed it on release date.
It was
Fallout
literally
4
Fallout 3 reskinned.
Yeah, it was terrible. I hated
Fallout
it.
3 reskinned. Yeah.
Oh, I liked it. Okay.
It needed to be buried under the dirt with all the other Canadians.
Yeah, so no wonder.
I liked Fallout 3. I liked Fallout New Vegas. Those are all good games.
Wow, you are the plebeian that is
yeah. Oh my god. See, this is why the industry is what it is, chat.
Yep,
because of people like that. Like they're willing to pay it. So like if they're willing to pay it, they will keep making it.
Hold on, I wasn't willing to pay it.
Now.
Hold on. I pirated Fallout 4 day one because I had no money back when that came out.
So you're confessing to a crime, Dev.
Yes.
I hope you don't have many enemies in the chat, Dev.
The whole chat.
See,
But no, like I actually
Bethesda-
I have high hopes for Starfield. It's gonna be good, I think.
Bethesda can make good stuff. And the thing for me with Starfield is I have no idea what Starfield is. None. Like, because they haven't really told me. They're like, oh, space, exploration, stuff. Like, cool.
Oh, have you been watching all the like releases or the trailers, like the conferences about it?
No.
So Starfield, from what I can tell,
Don't speak
Is-
anymore.
it's-
I
well,
wanna
it's
know.
it's
Let him
basically
speak, 'cause
No.
I'm curious. What the fuck is the
Okay.
game about?
so it's basically Mass Effect, but made in 2023 instead of 2008 or whatever Mass Effect
Are
was
there
made of.
There's
giant
no
alien
fucking way.
invaders?
There is no fucking way. I'm not going to get my Talizora Vas Normandy waifu from Bethesda. Dude, have you seen how the
However-
developers look?
One thing that I also Tally was my favorite girl too, V for sure. But like yeah, she was the best. Okay, listen though. So it's
Yeah.
basically Bethesda's Mass Effect, but they're adding space
Mass
combat to
Effect,
it. So
chat.
you can so like the actual like RPG on the planet stuff, kind of Mass Effect like, but also Fallout like. However, they added space combat, so you can build a ship, you customize a ship with all the different parts and weapons and like storage containers and whatever,
Dev,
and then
Dev,
fly your ship.
What
around.
is it about?
if I play the game, Dev, if I play the game,
Yeah.
and it's not like Mass Effect, can I come to Canada, take your pants down, and spank you? I want to spank you. I want to do like this. Like that. I want to hear your flat blubber jiggle. Because you lied to me, Dev. You lied to me. You're doing false marketing. I am willing to bet
False
it's
marketing.
not
That's
anything
true.
near
Yeah.
like Mass Effect.
I will be
I
more
don't think
specific.
so.
It's hold on. It is rather than being BioWare's Mass Effect, it is Bethesda's Mass Effect. If
Wow.
that makes sense.
So
No,
it's
it
Mass
doesn't,
Effect with uglier NPCs and a less directed plot.
Yeah, like the whole thing with Mass Effect, it was a beautiful universe, a beautiful world. You wanted to be in there. It was
Until
kinda
Mass Effect
cool.
3.
Oh, I
No,
even like.
I love
Mass
Mass Effect 1
3.
though. I love Mass Effect 1. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
1, 2, and 3. It was good. All three. I like them. The 3 had the bad ending. I get that. But like other than that, like 3 was still a nice game. Like the gameplay was great, right? It's the Andromeda that completely fucked it up. There is no
So-
way this is Mass Effect though. There's no.
So-
Please stop comparing it with
Well,
classic.
it is a more open kind of game than Mass Effect because you can like go to towns and take up jobs in towns and stuff. But Arch, I don't know if you saw this. This came out a couple months ago. This was the big Starfield topic for a while. All right, and this is from The Gamer, which is a very left-leaning site, and it says, "There's no hope for anyone who plays Starfield as a cop."
Yep,
And-
I
Yeah,
did
I
see that.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
did
the-
see that.
Because you can go and be a police officer. You can like
Mhm.
patrol shipping lanes in space and do those sort of things. But like, that made the ACAB people very angry that you could role play as a cop. In the same vein, they hated Garrus from Mass Effect. Once Mass Effect Legendary Edition came out, they kind of retroactively made Garrus to be evil because he's a policeman. They just hate cops now.
Like the thing with hating cops is just like destroying the nation state, because without enforcers, like nobody's going to turn themselves into court, and
Yep.
then if you don't need right, so like basically, then you don't need judges, and if you don't need judges, then you don't need lawmakers either, because like what's the point in making legislation that's not enforceable? So
Yep.
like it's so smart attacking the police officers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the NCOMs say that like the police are the institution that upholds private property and capital. So to tear down capitalism,
No,
you gotta tear
they're
down
the institution that upholds the state. Like literally,
that
without
too. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
yeah, like without that, you don't have a nation state. Because like there's no point. Like okay, so what? You have like a couple of chuckleheads that pass legislation. Okay, I don't want to pay taxes. Like what then? Right?
Mhm.
Like they're not going to be able to stay in office if you don't have the taxpayers. So
However, I think Arch wanted to talk about the leaking of Starfield, not Starfield itself, right?
The leaking
Sorry.
and around the game. So whether or not it'll be good, it's because people posted also that you couldn't explore the planets, that there were invisible walls. That has not been confirmed as far as I can tell. It was in the tutorial area. So somebody walked for like 40 minutes and they found an invisible wall, and it's like, okay, Starfield is not an open world game. And maybe?
It could be a tutorial. Maybe after the tutorial's done with, you can actually explore more. Could be something like that.
But I also point out, would you want to?
Maybe.
You know, 90% of that shit's just going to be empty wasteland.
Or like procedurally generated with like random things. Yeah.
Yeah. Just empty, dead space. Like, yeah, you can go over there. Why would you want to, though?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
I will say, though, this was also a wonderful example of Darwinism here, as the leaker. Not only was he streaming it and putting up videos of it, he also put up all the pictures of the product that he had for sale, etc.
Oh, fuck.
With contact details and everything.
Was it on eBay or something?
Mecaria, which is a sort of like eBay if you want to be like, fly under the radar, I guess.
Well, he didn't fly under the radar that much. Fuck.
No. You can even still see some of his videos. Now, I don't think we can see those. I don't think we can watch them because I'm pretty sure Bethesda is striking anything and everything. But his videos are still up too. Like, he's streamed it. He fucking streamed it.
To be fair, that takes balls, you know?
Or it takes remarkable stupidity.
Yep, that too. Like I said at the start of the stream, you have to be a smarter criminal.
That's true, I suppose. I don't know how he figured he'd get away with this, but he didn't. What I find almost more disturbing, though, is that there were people willing to pay $200 and $250 for Starfield, probably knowing full well that even if they got it, it would probably still be locked by the activation key and the download and stuff.
I mean, it comes out on the 5th. It comes out on the 1st if you buy the collector's edition.
Yes.
It comes out on the 5th if you buy the regular. So just wait a week, guys.
If you're a retarded streamer, for example, like myself, who makes a living of entertaining people like you, then you too might be dumb enough to fucking
Heresy's the question.
buy $100
Fire is the
collector
answer.
edition for
They-
5
they
days
will do
early
this.
access
No,
to a
and I-
single
and
player
Yeah,
game.
ironically-
that's what I'm doing
ironically.
too. That's what I'm doing too, Arch. I learned my lesson.
I'm the only pure one. I'm the only pure one.
Oh,
All
yeah?
of you are. Well, I
Heresy's
was
the
going to say
question.
what you are, but
Fire
it would
is
have been
the
a TOS
answer.
violation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Homophobia is not allowed on YouTube. Anyway, what's interesting is that more companies are going to do this. Like, you're going to be able to play earlier if you buy the deluxe edition. And it's going to be like 7 days or something.
Yeah.
Blizzard did it. It worked. The thing is, like, if it's a competitive game, like, for example, Diablo, right? Like, most people expected this to be like the game that would last a year. So they wanted to get early access so that they can start farming before everyone else.
Yeah, turns
So,
out
like,
that wasn't
competitive
how that worked.
Yeah, like competitive games like that, they're going to be able to sell a lot with the digital edition. But games that don't do this are going to be very rare.
It's and the thing is too, it's gonna be big games. Like, here's a preview of my thumbnail for Twitch chat. Is it gonna be like, okay, streamers, you have to stream this, and you have to stream it as early as you can, otherwise it's a massive wasted opportunity. You'll miss out on exposure, you'll miss out on audience, you'll miss out on all of it. So you're gonna have to pay up the $100. I'm like, yeah, I know. And then I am going to then join the evil chain to go, oh, hey, look, audience, look at this video game I've got access to because I'm a stupid person who paid $100. Wouldn't you like to be a retard too? And so it goes.
So here's the thing, right? Because Arch, you and I had this conversation privately back when the Harry Potter game came out, Hogwarts Legacy came out, right? Because you bought the deluxe editions that you could stream it 3 days early, and I bought the regular. I was like, I'll just wait, right? And we had like relatively similar number of viewers on our streams for like the first stream anyway. However, I made significantly less money than you. Now, part of that might just be because your chat is more super chat happy than my chat. That could be part of it. But also part of it might be the fact that I streamed it 3 days late. And I just lost out on the opportunity. You know, I saved $20 or $30 buying the regular edition, but you made significantly more money than me. And at least some of that can be chalked up to the fact that when you streamed it, it was new.
So LGBT. You are just so LGBT.
Okay. When you streamed it, it was new. When I streamed it, it was a little bit old. And I remember, Arch, we had this conversation. I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I probably should have actually bought the early edition, the early access one. So I'm doing that this time. I'm going to stream it as well. Honestly, though, however, unlike you two, I'm actually looking forward to this. I have high hopes for Starfield.
I'm looking forward to it too. I want to be a space Nazi too. I'm sure they have them. But I am doing this for you, chat. I am doing this for you. I am your ally in this.
Oh.
Arch, bust the super chats, Arch, because we gotta go with 30
I have
minutes, so.
sacrificed $100 for you, chat.
So have I. Oh, wait. Someone in chat asked, why does Dev emphasize privately? Because
So we can leak the DMs later.
Oh, yeah, it's totally. No, I think it's because we haven't talked about it publicly before, but I don't think it's anything controversial, so I don't mind just saying it.
Yeah.
Unless you think it's controversial, Arch. Did I reveal something evil there?
Dev figured he'd wait until after he was done. Going like, was that wrong? Dev. No.
Listen, it's always better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
Nobody says best thing to do is renounce U.S. citizenship and move. Well, move to where? Like, this is the problem too. It's like, okay, you can move away from America, Portugal, Montenegro, Mexico, Kenya, Canada. It is probably better to just stay your ground and fight for the nation you have right now. Hadase says 15-minute city. Hawaii is trying to do to Maui now. Ah, yes. Well, I mean, there'll be plenty of space for the 15-minute cities after, you know.
Oh, God. I don't buy that for a fucking second. You think there's a controlled burn of the city? That's the most retarded thing I've ever fucking heard in my life.
That's not what I said, Dev, but interesting theory.
No. I know you didn't say that. I've seen this theory floated around in right-wing Twitter spaces a lot. That there was a controlled burn of the city to buy up certain land to implement some sort of. And it's like, you guys are fucking retarded. Like you guys need to get the fuck off the internet. Like, holy shit.
You make a fine argument, Dev. The fires in Hawaii were set by the Democrats. Hey, YouTube, seriously, joking, calm down. I mean, it would be certainly a thing. I mean, there has been a lot of arsonists recently, and they've caught a fair few of them, and some are the usual crazy types. But in Greece in particular, they arrested at least 3 people, I think, that said they were doing it for environmentalist reasons to raise awareness. So it's like it's crazy, but also
I wonder, like you know what's weird though, and I'll give this
like,
on the left.
Why did you do it, officer? Climate change wasn't happening.
Why would you if you're an environmentalist and you're caught? Why would you admit it? Like you could say, well, I just like setting fires or some shit.
Because you're an 16-year-old fucking kid with your head full of propaganda. Your parents have never so much as raised their voice to you in their entire life, and now you're sitting opposite a 180-kilogram police officer screaming in your face as spittle flecks upon you. You know, your glasses are covered in his spit now. Why'd you do it? And eventually you just break.
Hold on. So someone in the chat said, Dev, that's exactly what happened. Okay, guys. All right. If you want to believe the shit, go ahead. You have the right to do so. You have the right to be a retard.
So the Lich has been a member for 7 months. Thank you very much, sir. And asks V, if you have to pick between a duck foot or a pepper box to shoot Dev for being a filthy communist, which one would you choose?
Dildo.
You've figured out how to fire a dildo. Oh, that's right. No, you're correct, V. There are dildos with pumps these days.
Yes.
Well, to be fair, that was part of the whole Lizzo story, right? Where Lizzo's Lizzo's backup dancers were suing her because they were required to like catch dildos that were fired out of the vaginas of sex workers in Amsterdam.
Didn't she call her backup dancers fat?
Hold on. We already know that, V, but I have a logistical question to ask.
Yeah.
Like, a dildo is at least like 200-300 grams, right? Because we're talking like a proper plastic penis here, right? How much vaginal pressure would you require to fire that an adequate distance for somebody to need to catch it?
I think like if it's oiled up, then it has like less friction, so it goes like.
Yeah, but out of a vagina, like.
Yeah, it's called a queef arch.
Yeah, but,
Well,
okay.
also,
Kinda like,
if
imagine you have like a big
Yeah,
fart
but V,
and
V,
it's up
V,
your
V.
ass.
Okay.
hold on. It's
If
also
you-
if a girl comes really hard, they can blast out.
Yeah, but that's like water. Like I don't believe they can
No, it's
shift
actually
like
piss. There's no water in the vagina. It's piss, Arch. They're pissing basically when they're. Yeah.
Well, there you go. But
Like,
I
I
still
don't
don't
know why-
believe they can launch a dildo.
I don't understand like why people think that when
surely,
a woman
like,
is
okay,
working.
okay. I'll make
Like-
make the logical argument here.
Is
If
this
a
how we're
woman's
ending the
vagina
stream, guys?
is capable of launching a dildo, surely you should feel some recoil on occasion.
Why?
I mean, if it's powerful enough to
Well-
move a dildo at speed,
Well,
surely
Arch,
your dick, your most sensitive organ,
Well,
should be able to notice this.
well, that
I mean,
here's the
I
thing.
never
It's-
been inside
the
a
muscles
girl
are
that queefs,
squeezing
but-
inward. They're not like pushing backwards, so there's no recoil.
That is correct. Yes. It's literally how. Arch, imagine you have a dildo up your ass, and at the same time you have like the meanest fart you ever blasted. Would the dildo fly out of your ass, or would it just stay in
I
there?
haven't tried V, but I am
No, but like,
willing
imagine.
to.
Arch,
I'm
like,
willing
like,
to
don't it-
conduct the experiment if you're willing to
Okay.
be the recipient.
No, like we're not talking about doing the experiment. Just like close your eyes and imagine the situation.
Yeah, I don't
you
think
have a
my
anus,
ass would
you know how
produce
a dildo
enough
looks like.
air pressure to
So-
fire a dildo.
hold on.
Like I'm actually
So,
quite
here.
confident.
Arch,
I
let's
think
say.
that with
Okay,
enough
hold on,
beans,
hold on,
it's
hold on, hold on.
Yeah.
Arch, let's say you're in the shower, okay, and you're holding the soap bar, and you squeeze too hard, and the soap like slips upward. It goes like whoop, you know. That's what's going on there.
Yeah, but soap's slippery.
So are vaginas. I know Ben Shapiro doesn't think so.
Okay,
But they
Arch,
are.
But so is
do
not
you
the dildo.
believe that if I hold on, Arch, if I put a suppository in my asshole and I point my ass to your face and I fart really hard, would the suppository fly from my ass into your face?
Depends on how big the suppository is, I guess.
What if it's like a normal size suppository? Like how big are they? Like the size of a digit, right?
Hold on, I need to find a dildo.
Okay,
here
so like
somewhere.
if we do this,
Not in my
then
room,
you can
chat, calm down.
calculate.
Okay,
Then
here we
you
go.
can calculate using a simple mathematical formula, but by increasing the volume and the size of the suppository until it reaches the
Look.
volume and size of a dildo.
Look at this thing. Could you fire this from your butt?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could.
You
'Cause
you
it's not
believe you
that
could
heavy.
fire that? Okay.
I believe I could fire this. Yes, it would cling to your face like a face hugger. Yes, if you put that in my ass, I would go like, and then it would just flap.
Okay, well, I rest my case. V is confident in his ability to fire this from his rectum, and I am not willing to raise any further objections in the matter.
You like when you go to the bathroom, right? And you ate something really bad, like you went to Taco Bell or some shit, right? And you go to the bathroom and you finally arrive and you like push as hard as you can and it's like a shotgun. Are you willing to tell me that if you aim that to a wall, it wouldn't be like all over the place like a
That's
crime scene?
liquid, though.
Okay, but like what if like some of the continents are still hard? See, I would need to take a deuce in one hand and a dildo in another and measure them to see like if it's the same weight or not. Because I think it may be similar.
Okay,
Okay,
we're gonna
take
have to
your- take
carry
your-
out this experiment at some point. We're gonna have to
Take your fat
establish the
Norwegian cock-
average weight of a dildo, and we're going to figure out the air pressure of V's butthole.
You know what? I'm going to ask ChatGPT.
You could do that.
I will ask ChatGPT.
Nicholas Van Nielen comes to save us by asking Dev,
Hold on, because this.
for that same reason, 15-minute cities shouldn't work in Australia either, but they're still trying. In reference to the Canada is too big thing.
Is it possible for a sex worker to shoot a dildo out of her vagina? And
Okay,
if yes,
hold on. Let's
at
talk about
what
the actual
velocity?
super chat for a minute, okay? So, from what I understand, the original conception of 15-minute cities is that you build a city so that everything you need is there, so you don't have to travel anymore, right? And if you do travel, you can still travel. You just have to pay a fine. I think that's the original conception. For some reason, that's being blown up as if you can't travel ever again.
Maybe some of them want to do that. Maybe some people think that's
Heresy's
what's
the
going to
question.
happen
No, that's
eventually.
not.
Fire is
No,
the
it,
answer.
I don't
it-
know
it's going to
necessarily.
make traveling incredibly difficult. And like in China, for example, when they wanted to
Mhm.
protest the banks, they made their health pass from green to red, which means that so like they already have these 15-minute cities in China. It's basically like when you want to go out, you have to scan QR code. When you want to go in, you scan QR code. If they basically fuck your QR code, you can't leave, right? But normally you
No,
can
I
leave, of
understand. Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah. By the
So
way,
yeah, how about
Arch,
this? How about
I
this?
gave you. Hold on. Like,
Okay,
Arch,
okay, go.
read this because this is good shit, right?
Is
So
that the?
I did violate OpenAI's terms of service by asking this question.
Oh.
But they responded that the human body, particularly the pelvic floor muscles, can exert significant amount of force under certain conditions. Sex workers, like any other individual, can have varying degree of muscle strength in the pelvic region. Pelvic floor exercises, known as Kegel exercises, strengthen the muscles of the pelvic floor and can increase the ability to grip or hold objects with the vagina. Some people can exert enough force with these muscles to expel an object from the vagina like a dildo. However, it's essential to recognize, Arch, that there's a limit to the strength and the speed at which objects can be expelled. The velocity at which an object could be expelled would be hard to quantify without scientific study. And as far as the training of ChatGPT, which ended September 2021, there's no research quantifying the expulsion velocity of objects from the vagina. It is important that this question with sensitivity and respect, considering the potential stigmatization and misunderstanding surrounding sex work and intimate body functions. Let me ask if there's any recoil. Is there recoil to this? So is there?
Okay, hold
any
on. Can I
recoil?
answer the 15-minute city thing?
No.
Maybe.
The concept of recoil typically applies to firearms and other projectile
I'm leaving in like
launching
5 minutes to go
devices.
set up my own stream.
All right.
Okay. So I have a question, all right? So part of the idea of the 15-minute city is that like everything you need is within 15 minutes from your house, right? So there'll be grocery stores and there'll be, like furniture stores and other stores, right? So
There
you don't have to
already
you don't have to
are.
you don't have to travel far to get most
There
things that you
already
need on a
is.
day-to-day. Yeah, and well,
Yeah.
to be fair, where I am, it's not. But yeah, I get the
Well,
point. I get the point.
fucking move.
Well, hold on a second. So that idea on its own doesn't actually sound objectionable. Obviously, like having more local amenities
It does.
sounds good.
I
No, it
hate
does.
I hate the plan. Yeah, it does. I
Hold
hate
on.
everything like central planning bullshit. Like let
So hold on.
people build stuff where they want to build. Like why do you have to central plan everything? Anyway, go on.
Yes. Well, what I mean is like, if your town wanted to like zone an area for some sort of construction that allows for certain shops to appear in your neighborhood that weren't there before, that doesn't seem bad to me. The only
because you're a
real
commie.
issue, no, the only
Yes.
real issue with 15-minute cities is the fine for leaving them. Everything else doesn't seem to be a problem. It's the fine if you leave them.
Dev,
Obviously, right?
in London, they install these cameras where if you have a car and you pass that point, you get a fine, right? So yes, it's literally what you're saying. It's the fine for leaving them. That's the problem, right? Like people don't give a shit about the 15-minute cities, right? They care about the fact that they don't let cars go in and out. That's what pisses people off. And if you take it a little step further and you go to China, they also don't let people go in and out without a checkpoint. So that, and by the way, historically speaking, we had those before. It's called factory cities. Like you had like the factory that would pay people with funny money. Like for example, the Coca-Cola factory would pay you with like Coca-Cola caps or some shit, right? So the idea was that people weren't supposed to leave those places. Like it's indentured servitude. That's what people don't like. Yeah, because you're right. Like no one gives a shit if you have like the everything close to a 15-minute radius, right? That's not the problem. The problem is like if you want to travel to Turkey in a vacation, they wanted to make it incredibly difficult for you to do that. And the reason is, it's not that they don't want you to travel to Turkey. The reason is like if you want to protest the banks, right, and you have to go a couple of cities away from where you're at, they want it to be very difficult for you to do so.
Hold on, some retard just said I'm from a city of millions. No, I'm not, you moron. Okay, listen. I understand. Here, I don't agree with the idea of fining people if they leave a 15-minute location either. Obviously, right? However, I don't think that's going to take off.
Yeah, like did you not be in a pandemic where you had to show QR code to sit at McDonald's? Like, do you not think they can do it, or like what?
And
Like,
and
is the
where's those restrictions now? They're gone.
again? We're talking about Russia invading Ukraine.
No, we're talking about them becoming unpopular.
I see. Overnight, it's like one day they were popular, the next day they weren't.
No, it takes
I see.
time.
Mhm.
Public opinion. Listen.
Why didn't they just talk with the truckers then? Like like Trudeau could have looked really good. You know, he talks with the truckers, agrees with their plight, and all of a sudden lifts the restrictions.
Because Trudeau's a retard.
I see. Okay.
And
right,
he always
so-
will be a retard.
Yeah.
And no one in Canada likes him anymore.
But
But listen. The point is
it's good
that
to win
in
re-elections.
no, I don't think he fucking is. There's no. Oh wait, $100 right now, V. Let's bet $100. Trudeau doesn't win re-election.
I know he can't run again.
Yes, he can.
But like the joke
No,
was that
he
he's
can
going
run
to
again.
run.
He can run again. He's going to run again, but he's going to lose. Yeah, he can run again. So I'll bet you that he'll lose.
Well, V,
When's the next Canadian election?
2025, I think, or 2024.
I mean, if I bet now, it's going to be like $10 adjusted for inflation.
that's true.
Is going to take place on or before October 20th, 2025.
Dev has challenged your manhood.
I will bet you $100 that Trudeau loses next election.
No, because I don't know what's going to happen in 1 year, so.
Okay.
But like a little bit closer to the elections, we can make a bet.
But like here, I understand the point about the lockdowns, and there's always a danger of them becoming permanent, but they didn't. And the reason they didn't become permanent is because the West actually still has functioning democracies that respond to popular opinion.
They were talking about imprisoning, just so you know, they were talking about imprisoning people who don't get the vaccine in Austria, right? And that was like a little bit before Russia invaded Ukraine.
I don't agree with that, obviously. I don't agree with that. But if it's popular, the government will do it.
It was happening.
Okay, fine.
Right?
Fine. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Right, like, and the only reason they stopped it is because Russia invaded Ukraine. Like, you can't tell me that they were passing this legislation, like they were proposing it a couple of weeks before, and all of a sudden they realized, oh, you know what, like we're actually doing this in the wrong, so we should like move back on our pandemic measures and blah blah blah.
I cannot talk about Austria, but I can say that in Canada, in the United States,
I fucking got that. You can't have Canada having restrictions when every other country on the planet doesn't, right? It doesn't fucking make sense. That's why Canada doesn't have it. It's because it started in Europe. Like, once the conflict started between Russia and Ukraine, they lifted the restrictions. You can't have like one nation in the middle of fucking nowhere, even if it's on top of America, being like, oh yeah, well, the entire country, like Europe lifted restrictions, America, like half of the red states lifted restrictions. You know what? Like, we're going to keep them because we're Canadians. Doesn't fucking work that way.
No, V. Canada started lifting restrictions 6 months before the Ukrainian invasion.
Then why didn't Trudeau just talk with the truckers and be like, okay, well...
Because he's a retard. That's actually the answer. He's fucking stupid. He's stupid and he's arrogant, and it's going to come back to bite him in the ass.
It's not just one man. It's an entire political party, Dev. That's not how it fucking works. Like, it's not a dictatorship.
Okay.
Even if he's the figurehead and he is like the prime minister, I get it, right?
The liberals in Canada.
Party.
Okay, like how much detail do you want? Because the liberals in Canada, there is a long history of them acting this way, of them basically being ivory tower elitists.
When were pandemic restrictions?
I need a bell. Right. The 5-minute bell.
Yes. Yeah. Listen.
Yep.
My TLDR is that once they became unpopular, they stopped. Had nothing to do with other things. People said, we had enough of this bullshit. And then soon after, the government complied. Because we still live in functioning democracies with more or less intact institutions. Okay?
Well, I'm not going to have this conversation here because then Arch is going to forbid me, which is something that I don't even understand why we're going into this conversation. But anyway, you're wrong. I'm right. Arch, just move on with it.
You should get Dev on your channel, too. Then you can spurg about this at length. For now, the new IKB4472 says, beat Dev until he becomes a rightist. We're trying. We're really trying. And Lucian sends a picture of a dog bowing. Bowing. See? Dog? Bow? Wow? You get it? No. Sujad says, V, thank you for repeatedly bitch-slapping Dev. And nobody says USA citizenship equals lifetime tax, renounced to be free. Tragically, any citizenship includes a bit of tax.
Literally, the war started on February 24th, 2022. Canada's 5th wave of restrictions ended February 28th, 2022 on the fucking clock, Dev.
Oh.
On the fucking clock. What are you smoking? Why are you gaslighting me like this? Isn't gas expensive in fucking Canada? Like, you bring this bullshit into Arch's kitchen with no shame. Like, I'm looking here, like, look at that yourself. Here you go. Like, this is the chart, which is showing the restrictions in Canada, all the 5 waves. And here you have when the war started in Ukraine.
Shit.
And you're going to see that the war started on 24th February, and the restrictions in Canada were lifted on 28th February.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking get away with this shit. Like, coming up and saying, I know.
Just wait, V. So, what ended the first 4 waves? And then what started and ended the wave after it?
They were always doing like that. Like, they were lifting restrictions a little bit, and then they were tightening them back.
That's not irrelevant, Arch. It actually is part of the conversation.
This is a YouTube conversation.
No, I'm sorry. Like, just fucking hell. You know, left it to the chat to decide.
Okay,
Put it
okay,
out there,
okay.
like, whatever.
If both of you can stay for another 2 hours, you may go at it.
No, we can't.
As the elite says, they talk about bringing back
like
COVID
getting
restrictions.
gaslighted.
Well, I'm not gaslighting you, but I can't explain it to you right now. We don't have time.
They are talking about it. They are at the very
It's
least
an
setting out
abuser tactic.
feelers to see if they can reinstitute it just in time for the elections, mind you.
Yeah, no, like the whole thing was, and they even announced it. Like, the whole thing was like, you put restriction, you ease it back a little bit, and then you restrict again. Like, that's how it got people to be used with it. Like, they had waves. I remember in my country, like, it would go up, and then, like, they would ease the restriction a little bit, make you think that you can walk away from your home, and then they would crack down again.
Beowulf19 says, Dev said to continue the conversation in Superchat, so I want him to talk about Soros in Nazi Germany again. That was a fun conversation. Oh, what was this one? Was this the one where Dev claimed that it was better to live in Nazi Germany than America? Was that the one? Yes, it was, probably. There. But Soros, unironically, his father was one of the people who went around to Jewish people's stuff and took their stuff after the Gestapo had arrested them. That was one of little Soros's first jobs. That is actually true. And he talked about it proudly, as it was apparently a happy time in his life.
Yeah, that's an interview which got disappeared.
Yep. Charlie says, normally you're right, Dev, but too much corruption here. Corruption. Alan Mandoria says, explain what kind of fart is correct and what kind of fart isn't there, Arch, to avoid charges. Well, if Trump gives the sort of fart that cannot launch a dildo across a room, then it's okay. But anything that's approaching escape velocity, and you have a problem. A legal problem. Panda Ace, no Dev, when the Canadian logistical network revolts, the government listen. Do you think they will care when the truckers are placed by AI? That's a good potential point as well. We'll see.
Heresy's the
And even then, they arrested the
Fire
truckers.
is the answer.
I'm back. Sorry, I had to go set up things. The Soros conversation, that was like a conversation with Aiden Paladin, and it was fucking stupid. That was dumb.
Did you went to gaslight someone else or to replenish your gas supply?
God damn it, V. I wasn't gaslighting you.
Fucking gaslighting me, Dev.
No, I'm not.
Paul Damak has been a member for 4 months. Thank you very much for your continued support, sir. And says, again, Dev opens his mouth, and again, you can see the wheel turning, and again, Hamster is dead.
Do you know what I think, Dev? I think you voted for a party that supported Trudeau. That's what I think. Like, in your voting booth, you weren't alone.
The hamster got too much gas.
In 2015, I did, yes, but not after that.
How did I know that, Dev? How did I know that?
How did he know
There's
that,
no
Dev?
fucking...
Well, if I showed you like interviews with Trudeau in 2013 and 2014, he sounded a lot better than he turned out.
Oh, whataboutism? I don't know, Dev. I don't know. The new IKB4472 says, will you kindly remind Dev that when at war, the only rule is to do what you have to win. And please remind everyone that democracy is cringe and gay. That is true, though. Glow in the Dark says, I bet Dev believes Putin gets off on his illegal acts because he's smarter than Alexei Navalny. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Man, if you think that like Russian institutions are like American institutions in their
Why not?
functionality,
Why are they? Why are
you're
they?
just
They are
you're just
literally
brain rotted. You're just
persecuting
brain
their
rotted.
fucking
brain
political
rotted.
opponent. Why are they, Dev? Why are the Russian institutions different than the American ones? Make the argument.
Because
entire
they
fucking
are
country.
Russian and the Americans
that's
are
not an
American.
argument.
And they have a
that's not a
different
fucking
culture
argument.
and a different tradition and a different
No.
morality.
Dev's
No,
argument?
that's just,
Racism.
Yes.
literally.
Yes.
Slavs are
Literally, yeah.
inferior.
Americans are culturally superior to Russians. Yes.
Oh boy.
Okay, like, are they incapable of communism, or like, what are you saying?
Heresy's the question.
And then the
Fire
Hell
is the
March
answer.
started playing in the background. To be fair, Trump hasn't been shot down in an aircraft accident yet, so that's something. Scarfield
Yeah,
Strange
they
says,
did.
remember, Dev said he would condemn Trump if he was found guilty, but he never said he would condone Trump if he was exonerated. Kind of makes you think. Oh, Dev.
Okay. I will condone Trump if he's exonerated.
Okay. Publicly? Will you get out in the public square and be like, I like Trump?
I don't think I really like him, but I'll say he was innocent. Yes.
Glow in the Dark says, consensus equals truth, says Dev. Well.
Hold on. That's literally the history of me being on this channel, where everyone in the chat says the objectively wrong thing, and I say the objectively right thing, and I lose the argument because consensus equals truth.
Dev, I'm willing to bet if I go to your channel, I will ass fuck you there as well in front of your chat, and they will side with me. I am willing to put that to the test if you want.
You should take him up on it. V is a good moneymaker, too.
Mm-hmm.
Alamandoria says, Dev, none of the courts threw out his cases based on standing, not merit. Dev, none of the courts threw out a case based on standing, not merit. None of the
That's not
courts threw
true.
out standing.
Some of them are based on standing, some of them are based on merit. That's cope.
The new IKB says, Arch, get the aristocratic utensils on the stream. Aristocratic utensils. Now I'm confused. The salad forks? Alamandoria says, threw them out on standing, not merit. Court threw them out on standing, not merit. Okay, so yeah, that's what he meant. That was confused too.
Mm-hmm.
The aristocratic utensil is a YouTube thing. There you go. So John says, Dev, the mainstream media, big tech, social media, Wall Street, Democrats, Hollywood, every influential group came together to attack Trump. Time even admitted it. So much money, power. How can you trust that?
Listen, we don't have time to get into that. We just don't have time. Like, this is the end of this. It's the end for both V and I think.
Dev
It's
is
8 o'clock.
like, I know there's a lot of interest groups that will benefit if this happens. And I know I did a video talking about voting blocks a while ago, but I think this is honest. Dev.
Well, yeah, voting blocks, as in people who vote.
Dev.
Listen, if you have a bunch of people who convince people to vote a certain way, and they vote that way, and all the votes are legitimate, you that's not a stolen election. That's you losing an election.
So said Hitler. Scarfield the Strange says, get Razor Fist on with Dev. Oh, that would be terrible. 76839 says, the Presidential Records Act means presidents can say anything is personal. The others had to give them back because they weren't POTUS to declass personalize. There's a reason the indictment didn't mention it.
Do you think Dev would defeat Vosh in a debate?
Probably not, no.
I think...
Why not, Dev?
No,
like,
no.
where is your fucking
I think
self-esteem,
so.
huh?
I think so because
You think
Dev
so, huh?
Dev has quite a lot of sophistry himself, and I think they could sophistate
Yes.
against each other quite effectively.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Even though I am correct objectively on almost everything, especially against Vosh, he's way more charismatic than me. I have no charisma, so.
Well, yeah, but like, Dev, it's not about charisma, and it's not about like.
Hold on. No. Internet debates are all about charisma. They're certainly not about fact. All right.
There have been many cases where, like, on the moment it was about charisma, but then people looked it up and it was like, oh well. Like for example, Sargon of Akkad losing, I think it was to Vosh actually, where he was pointing out that appeal from authority, and he gave the definition that because the other person was more charismatic, like he lost. But after a while, people looked it up and it was like, oh no, well Sargon was right.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it was the second debate that Sargon had with Vosh, where even though Sargon was correct, Vosh was more charismatic. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. There's like people in your chat saying that I'm running, even though I always leave at 8.
Yeah, you
Come
have
on,
to stop doing
guys.
that.
Like, why are you? How can you be this brain
I
rotted,
think
guys?
Dev
Come
needs
on.
to stay till 9 at least.
Nope. It's time to go.
Artemis Fowl says,
It is
Dev,
time.
I trust institutions. Me, Wuhan, and Fauci, Epstein, Northwoods, McUltra, Gulf of Tonkin, Iraq, WMDs. I mean, he does have a point, Dev. The institutions in America do seem to be frequent liars.
Aren't the institutions that assassinated Martin Luther King and Malcolm X? And...
That's another good point as well.
Shouldn't they like assassinate the
Dev
president?
looks at the
and,
assassination of Martin Luther King and goes like, yes, the system is working.
Well, I trust the FBI, but the system is working. Yeah. Isn't like what's
Service
coming up with
guaranteed
JFK a little
citizenship.
bit worrisome, Dev?
I haven't kept up with that. I don't know what's going on.
Ah, I see.
I don't know. I don't.
Maybe that's why you have faith in the institutions, because you haven't kept up with.
No, not with JFK. I don't give a shit about JFK.
Well, obviously, I mean that's why they're revealing it now, because they're banking on the fact that no one cares.
What's going on?
Well, you should. I guess I'll show you some videos afterwards.
Heresy's
sure.
the question. Fire is the answer.
Anyway, I think it is time now. It's 4 minutes past 8
Yes,
o'clock. It's time.
it is true. How many super chats do we have left? Arch?
Many.
Well, just know,
Wow.
chat, that you're wrong about everything.
Dev needs
You
to
can
not
keep-
derail so much and stay for an additional hour.
Hold on. It wasn't me who was derailing. V, I love you, but you were going wild tonight this time. It wasn't me.
Like, dude, like,
It
what
was
is the
you, not
point?
me this time.
What is the point in having me and him in the same stream if you don't want us to talk?
Well, no, I mean, it's fun. Like, I enjoy it.
I mean, I enjoy it as well, but Arch seems to be the one. It's like, oh my god, I'm getting too
A
much cash over
5-minute
this.
rule is the new
That was
rule.
a 5-minute
I'm getting too
rule.
much cash. So look,
5-minute
another yellow
rule.
super chat.
And we'll have to extend it by an hour as well.
Yeah, but Arch, we need to go. We'll leave you with the super chats on.
V, you're just gonna have to stay up later.
No, I can't.
You can.
No, I can't, literally, because I
You
have to
can.
wake up in the morning.
You've
No, I
you
can't.
you've sent me hentai at this time frequently.
Wait, hold on a second, V.
Yes.
I'm looking at that Wikipedia article that you linked me for Canada. This isn't a chart of lockdowns.
Uh-oh.
This is a chart of waves based on active cases.
Uh-oh.
And why is the last wave ending exactly
have
when
lost.
the war with Russia starts, then?
I don't know.
Well,
But-
yeah, I'll tell you why.
Hold on.
I know
No,
why.
no, but look up. What about lockdowns? Like, were we locked down during that time?
We'll have to find another one then. But
Listen. I'm having fun here. I understand you probably just didn't notice or anything, but listen, it's okay. I'm just
yeah,
teasing you.
like when you find an article during a fucking live stream, and I literally told you I'm going to Google it. Yes.
I know, man.
Like, don't you find
I'm
it
just pulling
weird
your
that the
chain a bit.
last
I'm just pulling
wave-
your chain a bit.
The last wave, Dev, ends literally when like Putin invades Ukraine, and all of a sudden COVID just happens to go away. This, okay, maybe it's a coincidence. The fuck do I know? And now Flamenco is upset that you mentioned, Arch, that I sent you hentai, and now Flamenco is upset that I send the hentai to other people and not just him.
Hey, Arch, have you actually ever spoken to Flamenco before?
Kyle.
I think he's the guy that likes like there's this sex toy where it's like a horse, but it's for women and it's painful, and he likes that. Like
Well,
there's a
unfortunately-
In my
fetish for it.
experience, Flamenco is a good guy to talk to.
Kyle isn't
He is.
here to inform me whether or not I've spoken to these people, and my own memory about people is non-existent, as Dev can attest to, so I don't know.
He's got the avatar of a dog with a red cape.
Doesn't ring any bells.
Hmm.
He's pretty good though. I've talked to him a few times.
You sure?
Yeah.
He's definitely worth
Is he a
talking to,
communist
yeah.
like you?
No, actually.
sure?
He's more like he's more of a Nazi like you.
Oh. I mean, that's better.
So he's not really a Nazi, is what you're saying. Do you know, I actually talked to a Polish guy, and I asked him, so, like, which ones were worse, like the Nazis or the communists? And the Polish guy told me, well, at least the Nazis were professional in killing us. Like, they had the system down. It was fast. The communists were just fucking cruel. Like, they would starve you slowly and disorganized. Like, in a matter where you think you may live.
Heresy
Like,
is
and
the
they
question.
probably thought you would
Fire
live,
is
but
the
no, you would
answer.
die. Is that true, Arch? Like, looking back at history, would you say that description is accurate?
No comment.
I see. So it means it is accurate.
Anubis Fox says, "Hey Arch, hey V, Comrade Dev, Comrade. Have you heard of a game
Comrade.
called Foxhole? I'm eager to learn if you would choose Collie or Warden. Stay positive, boys. I've played it like once, and it was too much stuff for me. It's a cool idea though, like World War One, basically reenacted on a full scale. It's pretty cute.
Okay, it is actually time for me to go. So I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, 50 more minutes.
Nope, it's time. Also, V, just in case, there's no hard feelings, right?
No, I'm not upset. But I
Okay,
do
so
have to go as well. I'm sorry, Arch. But
50
we did
minutes.
make you money, so don't be upset.
Okay.
Like,
We'll see you next week,
the
okay?
huge wave of super chats you're left reading.
I'm going to make them stay longer soon, chat. Don't worry.
Okay, see you later, guys. Thanks for having me, Arch.
See ya. Oliver Old says, one detail, pardon functions only on a federal justice. State can keep going forever if they feel like it. Only being the acting president can stop any current proceedings. Alright, so he would have to... Well, I mean, I'm presuming he could still pardon himself, but he would just do it temporarily, and then it would kick back up again afterwards, I guess. Ala Mondoria says, if you read the report for the people that conducted the raid, the classified documents were in the locked room. In the locked room. I haven't read it, so I can't really comment. SP Elite says, Hillary servers were literally in her bathroom, Dev. Skype strange. Dev logic. Law only applies if you don't cover your tracks. Well, yes, that is somewhat what it boils down to, but Dev's argument is an optimistic one. His argument is that it should be equal for everyone. The law should be equal for everyone, which I can agree with in theory, but the problem is that it is not. And we have to deal with the problem that we have, not the problem that we wish we had. Ace 1918 says, I'm here to spread the good word of our Lord and Savior, Donald Jesus Trump. Amen. So John says, it was the prosecutor who threatened the jury. Was it now? I've heard that the Andy No trial was quite the thing, but I haven't looked into it, so I can't really comment on that either. But, I mean, it's demonstrative that they attacked him. Like, I'm pretty sure he got that on film. I am 98% certain there is video evidence of him being attacked, so I can't see how he wouldn't win that one. Alex Adamson says, Dev is certainly on if the opinion of all time. Dev is certainly on if the opinions of all time. You have confused me, sir. That's not necessarily easy to do, but I am. Oh, well, no, there is a way I can see him not winning that case, and that is, of course, the judge going, I didn't see nothing, while staring at the video screen. Lapgo92 says, fine, here's money for me saying Dev is talking out his ass half the time. The Dev attacks. The Real Holsteiner says, so about the Jordan Peterson lawsuit. I didn't have time to look into it. I did look at it very briefly, but I didn't want to mention it today because I haven't looked into it enough to the point where I know anything. And the thing is, my understanding of legal matters in the US is surface
Heresy's the
level at
question. Fire
best.
is the answer.
So commenting on legal proceedings, I did that once and I was called a retard for doing it, and now I'm hesitant because I am a retard in this particular matter. Tallinn Hayabusa says, not been able to catch you live, but I want to say I disagree with 2A. If you look at the map in the US over the last few years, it's been moving towards more freedom. Also, more guns were sold in 2020 due to the riots. That is a good point, though. The thing is, I think the federal government wants your guns for the same reason that the government always wants your guns, because they want to control you. Simple as. That seems to be the undeniable trend of civilization. Like, every civilized nation seems to go for a gun grab at some point, almost regardless. It just seems to be how it goes. And it usually comes at the behest of the populace as well, as they start screaming about safety and security rather than their liberties and their freedoms. That's one of the problems. Once you start taking the freedoms for granted, as people tend to do, then you don't start to value them. And if you're not valuing your freedoms, then of course, what do you stand to lose? Like, if you don't take into consideration that you have the freedom to own a gun, and you only take into consideration that a gun was used in a crime, you might think that that is not a freedom worth having. Until it's lost, at which point you'll be, oh, well, that was done. It seems to be a near inevitability. Now, I do agree, though, that the riots did cause a lot of people to become far more pro-gun. Timothy of the Pool, of course, was a beautiful example of that, as he was very much so against private gun ownership for quite some time, and then the riots started burning shit in his neighborhood, and he go, oh, maybe not. And to be fair, that is my arc as well, because I, too, being a Norwegian, I mean, we don't have the freedom to own guns regardless. Like, you can own a hunting rifle maybe if you're a very, 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 very good boy and you've kissed the correct assholes, but other than that, nah,
fire
just straight
is the
up.
answer.
Like, and even then you've got to pay a continuous license to be able to own it. For example, the 357 Magnum that is in my ownership, for example. I need to pay a gun club membership to be able to have it. Otherwise, the government is going to go, well, you don't have a reason to own this. I'm like, yeah, but it's pretty. That's why I want to have it. It's like, that's not good enough. Literally. Like, I could, for example, buy a Car 98 if I had a hunting license, but then I would need to renew the hunting license. And if I simply wanted to own it because I'm like, it's a pretty gun, I would have to bore holes in it, remove the firing, like the bolt entirely. The entire bolt thing would need to be removed, and it would need to be safety marked. In other words, it would be ruined completely. I did recently discover, however, that you can purchase replica weaponry, and so now I'm the owner of several replica weapons. Because they're pretty, goddammit. Make it art? Yeah, precisely. No, unironically, like, I own, I think, 5 swords now and, like, 4 replica weapons, and I own them because they're beautiful. That's why. They're, like... My favorite sword that I own is the cuirasseur longsword from the Napoleonic War. The French heavy cuirasseurs used. It is a work of art. Absolutely. It is a beautiful weapon. I also own a massive Norse longsword, and I'll tell you what, those, terrible design. Beautiful weapons, terrible design. But yeah, like... Temporary upheavals will increase people's wish for gun rights because they're going to see the danger. But as the danger starts receding again, people are then going to go, oh, something happened over there. Take away their guns. That seems to be democracy. Dreyfus says, I don't know. I feel like if you can join the army or be drafted, you should get a vote. But that being said, in Canada, you can join the military, at least the reserves are 16 with grade 10, so maybe 25, but with exceptions. The thing is, like, I'm almost not... Yeah, no, that's a good counterpoint as well. Like, if you can join the army, then surely you should be able to vote.
Service guarantees citizenship.
But, I mean, it's difficult to argue with, isn't it? Okay, you're going to risk your life for a country you can't vote in. Yeah, darn. But at the same time, I feel like the cornerstone of democracy, which is voting, is so goddamn important and so difficult to get right in the age of information and, instant access to technology, etc., that you need a certain educated class to be able to vote effectively. I'm not even saying vote correctly. I'm saying to make informed decisions. I'm titillated by the idea of mandatory voting, actually. But people who live in countries with mandatory voting just tends to tell me that people still don't give a shit, and they'll just vote randomly because they have to show up. So that's clearly not a perfect solution either. But low information voters are a genuine issue in any democratic system because you're going to have a class of people who simply don't fucking know what they're voting for and don't have the interest or the mental capacity to keep up with things. Like, this is the problem you see so many times. When somebody does something clearly ridiculous and everyone goes like, well, his political career is over. 4 years later, he's reelected. Why? Because everybody fucking forgot about it. Dean Domino 25 says, but Dev, global TV is an institution.
Service guarantees citizenship.
Again, Dev's naivete and faith in the institutions is fascinating to me. It kind of endears him more to me, though, as I kind of look at him like a babe lost in the woods now, like, oh, you believe the police is your friend at every level. Like, the cops are your friend, the judges are your friend, the police officer who put you in jail is your friend. And in many cases, they are. But in some cases, they are not. The prosecutor is not your friend necessarily. The judge is not your friend necessarily. Hell, even the jury is not necessarily your friend because the institution is not by nature neutral. I mean, hell, if somebody pulls up in your driveway as a police officer and arrests you with a rainbow on the side of the car, how confident are you that your civil rights will be maintained, considering the flag on the side of the vehicle is in direct opposition to your rights? And that comes from somebody who simps massively for the police in many ways because it is a difficult job, and they are, again, the reason why we give the police such tremendous power is because we hold them above ourselves in terms of morality. Now, that's the thing with the police officer. You assume they are doing the correct thing because you must assume that they are, otherwise you can't trust them, and you must trust them because their entire job is to maintain peace and order. Unfortunately, with, again, rainbow-colored police, it is getting more and more difficult to do so. Even then, though, and that's not even saying all of them, there was even I believe there was a county in the US recently where all of the police officers quit because they too were objecting to the politics being inserted into their jobs, which is a very big deal. The Holsnader says, Dev, I have to say your last vid did wonders to cement my opinion that socialist heads belongs on bikes. Keep up the good work, buddy. I really enjoyed his video on the Oliver Anthony thing, actually. I thought the entire idea of morality as a luxury good was an excellent point. Cassie Venus says, Director X is just Trudeau in disguise. It might be. Trudeau has worn blackface on multiple occasions previously. Alex Adamson says, Arch, does the kitty have a bell? I hear jingles. No, this is my keys that I am playing with as I am mulling over Dev's and V's retardations. The kitty is still stuck in the foyer, I presume. Don't worry, the kitty was given food and water. The kitty is fine whilst I'm doing this. Plus, I think it's still raining outside. The kitty has a blanket. The kitty is happy. Well, the kitty might have bashed its head out against the door, but I doubt it. Mr. Luckler says, if Disney really wants to do something with Star Wars, they can just leave it alone for about half a decade, maybe longer. The constant stream of bad or mediocre content is making things worse. I agree. They need to introduce artificial scarcity, essentially. They need to be like, oh no, Star Wars. Oh no, we've got no plans to do any more Star Wars stuff. And after doing that for like 4 or 5 years, people might just swallow any old tripe you send their way. ShadowFox2300 says, one thing is, though, if you play as a druid, you will learn that the Rite of Thorns is harmful and forbidden rite for druids that causes more damage than help. She is a shadow druid. That is the thing, too. She is actually evil. She was corrupted by the shadow, and it's possible that a hag or something got her on that plan, since she has that secret conspiracy dude from Baldur's Gate, which we haven't gotten to yet. American Outlier says, hello, Arch and the gang. Hope all is well. Everything is fantastic. Thank you very much. Ethan Rogers says, Dev and V, an issue with y'all's corruption stance is that both are effective, non-falsifiable. I'm not sure if you could possibly convince each other with any evidence besides given knowledge from God. That is a good point as well. Well, it is entirely the idea, like, Dev's position is the institution works, here's an example of the institution working. And then V goes, here's the institution don't work, here's an example of the institutions don't working. Because both can absolutely be true at the same time. For example, you can say, yeah, the system worked when the judge in the Hunter Biden case went, doesn't this effectively give him immunity from spying? Does he need that in a tax case? And then they withdraw the case. But then the system also doesn't work when the prosecutor goes, oh, the ceiling's leaking. We're going to have to move this to, let's see, California. Yes. Carl Forever says, I would agree with V on this, but Henry Cavill. I'm trying to remember back to the point that might have spurred this, and I can't. Tanushi says, Dev, would you say Todd makes it worse? Make it work. Todd Howard. Mr. Luckless. Dev, desperate trying to justify having his busy taken every night. How can he sit down comfortably is a medical mystery. Maranga 2 says, my flatmate just walked in the kitchen as I'm hearing this and said, why does that guy sound like Dolphinschmitz? Dolphinschmitz? Dolphinschmitz. Google. Dr. Heinz Dolphinschmidt. I have no idea who this guy is. Milo Murphy's Law. Now I'm confused. The Holsnedit says, Dev, if the GOP went back to how they were in the 90s, what the hell makes you think the Dems would de-escalate? When Trump's election was a direct retaliation for the escalation of socialism and wokeism. Don Peter XX says, Subarch, V and Dev, have any of you seen the Twisted Metal TV show? It's a bit campy with some hit-or-miss jokes, but entertaining for the low budget. I would agree. I think Twisted Metal was actually pretty good, you know, everything considered. It was low budget, it was a bit low effort, and they kind of had fun with it when actually made it better, I think. So, I didn't mind it. It also didn't have a whole lot of wokeism, except for, I guess, a strong female character, but even she mellows out quite dramatically as the show goes on, so, Booghouse, why does the Leaf need to yell to make his point? Because V has a very annoying voice. And as the conversation goes on, you naturally start screaming. I have experienced this too, and I don't hold it against V, but I recognize the pattern. As I've had my own debates against V when this has happened. Dreyfus says, not saying it doesn't exist, but he went global cooling, global warming, climate change. Then people wonder why some people have become skeptical. Captain Planet had an overpopulation episode 30 years ago, and now we fear pop crash. Yes. The issue is the climate change side of things can never get their story right. That's the issue. They keep changing the narrative every 5 minutes, and that is driving a lot of people away from it. And beginning to make a lot of people question it. So, okay, you were wrong on this. Why aren't you wrong on this? Well, there's science. Yeah, but you claimed you had the science then, too. Alex Adamson says, the Sahara Desert used to be underwater. The Earth has been a lot hotter than it currently is. The world goes in cycles. We're just speeding it up. Entirely possible. Let's see. Let me close that. It is getting in the way. Chloe says, Dev hates Russians and likes using gas. Sounds like he is a National Socialist. He also is into femboys, so he sounds more and more like a Nazi. Possible. This might be Dev's gas arc.
Service guarantees citizenship.
Chloe says, Dev is the appeal to authority argument made manifest in human flesh. Dev is the appeal to naivete argument made living flesh. Neil 7 says that it's evidence we've been in a CO2 low and that more CO2 makes planet more drought resistant along with growing faster. Well, that's the thing. Like, we are in a cold spot right now. Again, the last ice age was not that long ago in, global terms. Well, they call it the small ice age. I think it was like the average temperature was like 8 to 15 degrees, which sounds fucking nippy. Shadowfox2300 says, truth is a lot of birds set fire to a forest to scare out the small animals into the open for them to catch. That would be a pretty great hunting technique. The whole thing says, V, you missed the part. Legislation by Democrats and by leftists. Glow in the Dark says, normal conservation acts are good. This new don't do control birds is a progressive Californian abomination that has spread. Yes. Like, the thing is, you need to understand that forests are living beings, and they will spread and multiply uncontrollably unless you control them. Like, it is literally in every tree's best interest to spread its sperm as wildly as possible, and it is our best interest to say, no, you don't get to be over here because you'll be set on fire, and then everything will go up in flames. We need to forest actively. Forests need trimming. They need cutting. Like, areas need to be cut to break up forest fires, for example. It's one of the reasons why back in the day, we used to cut enormous swaths straight through the forests to essentially create a fire street where it would be very difficult for the fire to leap over it and onto the next clutch of trees. But of course, strong winds can screw all of that over too. Tonushi says, police exist so that the army doesn't need to uphold the state and the security. That's what you get if you abolish the police. That is a good point as well. Doman says, can you knee on people as a cop in Starfield? Well, that is a question that I do intend to answer. So, we'll see. Black1917 says, Hail Arch Christ, our Lord and Savior. Hi V and hi Dev. Orvinaut says, most Arch's reaction ever. People are launching dildos out of their censored. Arch, I wish to approach this from a logistical perspective. It's important, though, because I'm not sure you can launch a dildo from your orifices. I'm not sure you have the muscular or air force pressure to do so. I question this strongly. Now, a little rotor or something, maybe. But a dildo? Come on. No one says, Germany restricted all travel to 15 kilometers due to the coup at one point. Sounds German. The Hillian Juggalo says, the government didn't do restrictions on popular demand, they did it in spite of popular rejection. Dev has too much faith in system being good. Dean Domino 25 says, remember the phrase, the new normal? The establishment kept parroting a bit ago, that's what they were trying to make. If they do it enough, it will stick. Yes. I agree. They were trying to make it the new normal. All of them were all for making it the new normal. But on this one occasion, and hopefully the next one, it'll be the same. But here's the problem. One of the issues with democracy, when it is used the wrong way, is that you have a vote on something, and then it is rejected by popular demand. Like, you go like, I would like to feminize every boy. And people go, that's a bit much. Please don't. And then you go, okay, the people have spoken. 5 years later, I would like to feminize every boy. And people still go, no. 5 years later, I would like to feminize every boy. And you keep pumping out the propaganda in the meantime. This is literally what the EU does with its various referendums, where they do one, get defeated, and then they hold another one after they've spent a few more $1 million in propaganda. And if you keep asking the same mother-humping question enough times, sooner or later, the crowd will say yes. And then, of course, if somebody goes, can we change that again? I liked it better before. Then you go, no, you're endangering democracy. No one says they lifted restrictions after trying to suppress the protests. Yes, part of our institutions still function, but very barely, scarily so. Oliver Nord says, part of Justin reaction was because of what happened at the US Capitol. The idea that foreign funds were sent to Trucker to maybe invade Parliament. Possibly. Ebenezer 1690 says, hello from... Oh, God, it scrolled. Hello from Boston, Massachusetts. If I may, talking about Canadian politics is tantamount to taking an accordion hunting. Good work, Arch, gentlemen. An accordion hunting. That was a colourful phrase. Go in the dark. Arch, how can you say America hasn't killed people? Do you believe Epstein hung himself with tissue paper? Russians are more open about that stuff. No, I agree. America absolutely has killed people. In fact, we literally have the documents saying they've ordered assassinations. I mean, Obama. At least the Russians are more... Like, okay, the Russians try to pretend to. Like, when the Wagner guy was shot down the other day and Putin went like, oh, his family has my deepest condolences over this mysterious missile strike. Accident. James Kuhn says, Dev, do you know that Marxism was founded by a British man, an American, and Canadian were British? Checkmate, Dev. Have a good night, everyone. Checkmate indeed. Analog Mind says, the context of the tape was Trump was waving a newspaper article about him wanting to start a war with Iran, and Trump was saying that it was General Milley who wanted the war, and he should have declassified that. There you go. It might be. Dreyfus says, speaking of institutions lying, during World War I, the RMS Lusitania had thousands of tons of munition, and the Gov lied about it until the 80s and 90s. They did indeed. The Lusitania was a valid target, but America wanted war with Germany, and it got war with Germany. Alex Adamson says, I mean, Dev's opinion was one of the opinions of all time, but I only had 50 characters to say it. Now I've wasted £2, 7 if you include this one. Dev's opinion was one of the opinions of all time. That is true. That is correct. The new IKB 4472 says, liberty is better than safety. Liberty is the freedom that makes your own safety. Correct. But the issue is a lot of people don't understand that, and it's not taught anymore. That's the issue. We don't teach these things in school. We don't teach people about democracy, about how to use democracy, about what the point of democracy is, and what one's interference and interfacing with democracy creates and causes. Because, again, people don't understand. If you have a freedom and you don't value it, you're not able to value it. It's like, okay, well, I don't need a gun, therefore nobody should need a gun, says the person. And then somebody shoots somebody and goes like, oh, gasp, well, the gun's clearly at fault. People need to understand the theory behind democracy far more than they do today. Tank Imperator says, Dev, American institution can be trusted. Ignores the very many crimes committed by the government, including the flooding of drugs into black communities, selling weapons to the cartels, and funding the Taliban via Pakistan. They did do that. In fact, Osama bin Laden was picked as a less radical alternative to some of the people America was considering funding. With flight training and anti-air missiles, mind you. Doman says, wait, I thought you and Kibbs were done with war now. We're going to try Red for a little bit. Our stubbornness convinces us, and we'll probably do that soon. And Arnos Fowl says, Dev is the prime example of the demoralized population Yuri Bezmenov was talking about, and will not accept evidence in front of his face until the boot comes crashing down upon his skull. Buckymus, what is this I hear about you backing out of a debate with Dev, huh? What is this I hear about your pussy ways? You should grab yourself by the testicles, boy, and meet him in honorable combat, yes. Grinning Tiki 220 says, notice me, senpai. Noticed. And recorded. Spiderpig 34, I'm not gonna... Spiderpig, that's just your name now. All of you people need to stop adding letters to your names, because I will read them because I'm autistic. History and moral philosophy courses when? Fucking precisely, though. Actually, yes. Unironically, Starship Troopers had it correct. History and moral philosophy. Absolutely. Because you need to use history as the example. Because when that one cheeky chit in chat, school, classroom, that was the word I was looking for, raises his little fat pudgy hand and goes like, but teacher, surely none of this can happen in our civilized democracy. Why do we need stormtroopers on every corner? Because then he can point back through history and go, okay, this is what happened in 2020 when a bunch of lunatics attempted to abolish the police, when they legalized theft up to $900. And then he simply runs the tape of the lootings. There you go. Nice and simple. And then the little pudgy shit can take his hand back down and everyone can turn to him and laugh. That is the correct way to do teaching.
Fire is the answer.
And Artemis Fowl says, you are the one who is supposed to set that up. Oh, you've changed your tune, have you? I heard you were doing this on Dev's channel, you little traitor. Now you want me to come help you, to rescue you, Artemis? I don't know about that. I don't know. I'll see. I think Buckymus is afraid of Dev. I think Dev's facts and logic has driven Buckymus into a corner from which he cannot escape. Even this chat says, we are V. Good. Oh. Well, that was a lot of reading. But we are through, I believe. Yes, we are. Okay, right. So I have left little Kibby waiting, probably crying in a corner somewhere, sad and alone. So I will wrap it up there. Thank you all very much for watching. We will be doing some more Baldur's Gate tomorrow, and next week we are going to stream Starfield, which will hopefully be fun. I'm going to need to set up some sort of voting system for the factions there for everybody, because I want chat to be involved in the decision-making process on that, as apparently there are quite a few factions. Now, whether or not they determine anything to do with the story, I don't know. Because, you know, it's a Bethesda game. It might have nothing to do with the story for all I know, but we'll see. Sluttimus is trying to defend himself.
I have lost.
No, I didn't want to give him money on his channel. Aw, Sluttimus. Sluttimus. All right. Well. Oh, start beeping at me, computer. I haven't touched you in that way. Please. With all of the public service announcement out of the way then, until next time, have a good day and a good night.